you know not to go up to your chest in certain swamps. Forget the giant snakes. When you fall into that nightmare soup at 2 in the morning and you get that black water on you and there's things going up your pants.
A newly discovered ancient Mayan city, a rock fortress 650 feet above the ground, and the lost city of the monkey god. This is super exciting because it's a very recent find. In southeastern Mexico, a team of archaeologists has uncovered a hidden ancient Mayan city, more than 6,000 structures, including pyramids, all buried under thick vegetation. The city has been dubbed Valeriana, and it was revealed thanks to LiDAR, which stands for Light Detection and Ranging. It's a laser-based mapping tool that uses airborne sensors to scan the landscape. The data, collected back in 2013 as part of a forest monitoring project, wasn't actually being used for archaeology, but when researchers took a closer look, they saw this sprawling Mayan city. And according to Luke Thomas, the study's lead author, our analysis revealed not only a picture of a densely settled region, but also a lot of variability. End quote. This wasn't just a small settlement, but a large city, potentially home to 30 to 50,000 people between 750 and 850 CE. The city was hidden in plain sight, with farmers unknowingly working among the ancient ruins. And it's amazing because 6,764 structures have been found, and as Thomas put it, there is much more to be discovered. When I first saw an image of this place, I thought that it may have been an AI-generated image, but it isn't. Despite how fantastical this place looks, it's actually real. This is the Sigiriya rock fortress in Sri Lanka. High in the jungles of Sri Lanka, there's a towering rock fortress that doesn't look like it should exist. Sigiriya, also known as Lion's Rock, was built in the 5th century CE by King Kashyapa, who constructed this place on top of a giant boulder that rises 200 meters or about 650 feet above the ground. To enter the place, visitors had to climb this massive staircase that passed through the mouth of this colossal lion sculpture. After Kashyapa completed the palace, his brother launched an attack. Kashyapa's army abandoned him, and the king's wives jumped to their deaths from the top of the rock, and the fortress eventually was captured and fell into ruin. For centuries it was forgotten, first as a royal palace, then as a Buddhist monastery. When European archaeologists rediscovered it, though, they were stunned. The lion entrance, real. The palace's mirror wall, designed to reflect the king's own image as he walked through, real. Today, UNESCO calls Sigiriya the 8th wonder of the world. What you're looking at here is known simply as the lost city of Colombia. In the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta Mountains is a city that was lost to time for centuries. About 1,300 years ago, the Tairona people built an incredible city on top of the hills. And the story goes that they'd been instructed by their god, who told them to live as close as they could to the stars. For 700 to 800 years, people lived here until the Spanish conquistadors arrived, and the Tairona never encountered the Europeans themselves, but the diseases that they brought spread rapidly and wiped out the entire civilization. With no one left to care for it, the city fell into ruin and was mostly forgotten. It wasn't until the 70s that a group of bandits passing through the jungle came across this hidden city, and they couldn't believe their eyes. An ancient overgrown city full of precious artifacts. Pretty amazing. The bandits pocketed what they could and sold their loot on the black market, and that's when archaeologists caught wind of this amazing discovery, and soon what was known only as the Lost City was uncovered after nearly 500 years. For centuries, there's been a legend of this hidden city deep in the jungles of Honduras. Hernan Cortez, the infamous Spanish conquistador, heard rumors of what was called the White City, or the City of the Monkey God, a place said to be full of unimaginable wealth. Cortez searched and searched, but he never found it, and neither did anyone else for hundreds of years. But the legend never went away. Even Charles Lindbergh, the famous American aviator, claimed to have seen this city while flying over the country. Others swore that they'd found it, but for one reason or another, they couldn't or wouldn't reveal its location. Then in the early 2000s, archaeologists came across something almost by accident. A team following the path described by one of the more eccentric individuals who claimed to have discovered it ended up finding this massive ancient city exactly where he said it would be. Deep in the rainforest, they uncovered a pyramid and a series of stone sculptures, remnants of some advanced civilization that had vanished more than 1,000 years before. Now, it's still not 100% certain if this truly is the city of the monkey god Cortez spoke of, but it is still proof of a lost civilization. The lost city, now known as La Ciudad Blanca, is just a reminder that legends are sometimes closer to reality than we may realize. What you're looking at here is the ancient city of Tikal, deep in the Guatemalan rainforest. This ancient Mayan city, thought to have been called Yaxmutal, was once the capital of a powerful Maya kingdom, occupied from around 200 to 900 CE. There were huge pyramids, royal palaces, massive stone monuments, some still standing today. As you can see, like a lot of Mayan cities, it's not super clear why it was abandoned. Could have been a combination of things, lack of resources, environmental changes. It wasn't until 1848, though, that an organized expedition rediscovered the place, but it's still one of the largest and best preserved archaeological sites in the Americas. Now, these are weird. Tiny gold artifacts found in Colombia made by the Cumbia people over 1,000 years ago. They look suspiciously like airplanes. They've got wings, tail fins, some even have what looks like landing gear, and yes, they're made entirely of gold. Archaeologists say they're probably stylized animals like birds, bats, or insects, but still, some of these things look a little too aerodynamic. That's why people call them the Kumbaya airplanes. They've built models based on these designs, scaled them up, and guess what? A few of them actually flew. Now, to be clear, again, most researchers still say they're just abstract animal figures, but I mean, it's hard not to at least wonder, how did a pre-Columbian jungle culture make gold figurines that just so happen to resemble modern jets and are aerodynamic enough to actually fly when scaled up in some cases? Either these are some really creative animal carvings, or the Kumbaya knew something that we didn't. In the deep Belizean jungle at a Maya site called Luminai, archaeologists started finding copper tools, stuff like bells, tweezers, fish hooks, which is already strange, considering the Maya weren't big on metalwork, and finding them this far inland was especially weird. Most of the copper wasn't local. Instead, it was traced back to places hundreds of miles away, mainly in western and central Mexico. This proves that the ancient Maya were part of a huge trade network. The copper items were clearly considered rare and valuable, used for rituals and trade, and they totally mess with the old idea that the Maya didn't care about metal until the Spanish showed up. Also, goes to show just how connected these societies were. As one researcher, Geoffrey Braswell, put it, the finds show how, quote, Mesoamerican societies were much more interconnected than we previously believed. It's not just that the tools are interesting, it's how they got there. These were jungle cities with no wheels, no horses, nothing like that, but they still managed to trade for copper from hundreds of miles away. This one kind of looks like nothing. I mean, just an old bone at first glance, but the Ashango bone, found near the headwaters of the Nile close to the Congo jungle, is over 20,000 years old. It might be the oldest known math tool. It's a small bone, probably from a baboon, with carved notches grouped into patterns. Scientists noticed some of the marks seem to show multiplication, division, prime numbers. One column shows numbers like 11, 13, 17, and 19, which is not random. Dirk Hoylebroek, a Belgian mathematician who studied it, wrote, "The structure of the markings is clearly purposeful. This is evidence of a prehistoric number sense," end quote. Now, not everyone agrees on what the bone was used for. Some think it was a lunar calendar. Others say a tally stick, but either way, it's way more advanced than anyone expected for that time. It was found in 1960 near the Semliki River in modern-day Democratic Republic of the Congo, and is now housed in a museum in Brussels. Alright, so this one is controversial. The Ica stones are a bunch of smooth black rocks with carvings on them, found near Ica, Peru. Some show normal stuff like animals, but others show people using telescopes, doing surgery, and interacting with dinosaurs. A farmer named Basilio Uchuya claimed he found them in a cave in the 60s. He admitted to faking some of them, but then he said he was forced to say that to avoid prison for selling antiques. So the whole thing's a mess. Most experts say the stones are modern fakes, especially since no one's ever found them in a properly documented dig. The Peruvian government officially labeled them as hoaxes, but for some reason they still keep popping up in museums and conspiracy videos. And hey, I'm one to talk, but I find these things kind of compelling. Are they definitive proof that history was very different than mainstream science would have you believe? No. Are they weird enough to get my attention though? Absolutely. For years, scientists thought the Amazon was mostly just uncharted wilderness, but when deforestation and LiDAR scans started peeling back the trees, they showed hundreds of huge geometric shapes carved into the land. Circles, squares, straight roads, way too precise to be natural. A 2022 study in Science described over 450 of these geoglyphs in the Acre region of Brazil. They're estimated to be up to 2,000 years old. The shapes were made by clearing forest and digging deep ditches. Not easy work without modern equipment. And what makes it even more interesting is that there are no large ruins nearby like pyramids or cities. These things were just out in the middle of nowhere. In 2021, archaeologists digging at Xingshui, an ancient ruin site in southern China, pulled a massive gold mask out of a sacrificial pit. This place has been turning up weird stuff for decades, but this mask got a lot of attention. It's over 3,000 years old, has big staring eyes, huge ears, and a thin little mouth carved into it. It weighs about half a pound. It doesn't match the usual style of Chinese artifacts from that time though. It's not from the Shang Dynasty or any of the big name cultures you usually hear about. It came from the Shu civilization, a lost culture that we still know very little about. No one really knows why they buried all this stuff in deep pits or why their art looks so different from everything else around it. So just what the hell is going on here? I've said this many times on the channel, I do not speak Spanish. Can anyone tell me what these guys are yelling in this video? I'm guessing it's something like, holy crap, look at the size of that thing. That's a chonker of a snake. Oh no, my van, that sort of thing. That thing is so big, I wouldn't have been surprised if it crushed that vehicle like a plastic water bottle. How horrifying. It's like you're actually witnessing a scene from Jurassic Park play out right in front of your eyes. Sounds cool, but in real life, I mean, you can hear how panicked these folks are in the video, except for the one dude just casually walking by in the background. He had places to be, I guess. Here's where you never want to be though, in an anaconda's turf, the water. Sure, these things can slither around on land too, but I'm sure they're faster in the water. Well, this dude gets up close and personal with one, and at first it doesn't look all that frightening, but then you get a real sense of this thing's size. Take a look. First of all, we mostly see its head throughout the video, right? But when it starts swimming away, just look how thick the thing's body is, and of course, how long. Imagine being trapped in the water with that thing tangled around you. Like, good luck. Man, like, drowning is such a scary enough thing as is. I've nearly drowned like twice in my life, and I don't think the lifeguard at the community center pool would have been able to rescue me if I had a 15-foot anaconda wrestling with me underwater. There's a snake on my roof. Take a look at this. Well, that would be a pleasant sight to see walking out your house for work in the morning. I think opening up my door to a wall of snow is bad, but I feel like this would be worse, just slightly more inconvenient. Would your boss believe you if you lived in this part of the world? Like, sorry, I'm not gonna make it in today. There's a basilisk just chilling on my roof. Honestly, I might die. I don't even know how this roof is holding that thing up. Anyway, scary video. Alright, this person is just way too close to this thing. This is a massive sized reticulated python spotted slithering around someone's pad. It looks like it might have wanted to check out this person's bike. And yeah, I get it, like you don't want it to ruin your ride, but there is no way I'd ever get this close to something like this, even though it makes for a great video and by extension, just one more thing for me to add to a list like this. One commenter asked if this snake could eat a human, to which I need to ask, did you actually watch the video or did you just read the description? Yes, that thing could definitely eat a person. Also, kind of looks like it's shedding, so it might be trying to find a hard surface to rub against to get its old layer of skin off, which you'd probably be able to build a crispy hammock out of, as gross as that would be. Alright, it's really not surprising that there are legends of giant river monsters like the Yakumama I discussed earlier when you see footage like this. Yeah, looks like a living dinosaur to me. Supposedly this footage was taken somewhere in the Amazon, where we can clearly see a very large anaconda crossing a river. And I am just really glad I live where I do sometimes. Sure, it gets cold, but at least that means that giant snakes like this aren't gonna show up at your door or on your roof, or at the lake where you're swimming, or in your garage where your motorcycle is parked, or at the construction site you're working at. There's virtually no threat of being choked to death by a giant snake, and I'm all for that.
Hidden deep in the jungles of Guyana is the legend of the Didi, a large, hairy, human-like creature that locals say stalks the forest. It's often compared to Bigfoot, but unlike North American stories, the Didi is described as more aggressive. Hunters in the region claim to have heard its guttural growls and seen huge footprints leading into dense brush. Some reports describe it stealing food from villages or chasing people who stray too far into the forest. Anthropologists think the Didi may come from cultural memories of giant sloths or encounters with unrecorded primates. Others dismiss it as a story told to keep children from wandering off into dangerous areas. But the number of consistent sightings across generations make the Didi one of the eeriest legends from South America's lesser-known jungles. Picture this. You're trekking through the Sumatran jungle when you catch sight of a small figure covered in hair darting between trees. This is the orang pendek, which translates to short person. It's described as a human-like primate about 3 to 5 feet tall, walking upright on 2 legs. For more than a century, explorers, Dutch colonists, and modern researchers have reported seeing it. In the 1920s, a Dutch settler even swore he saw it cross a path just a few feet ahead of him. Scientists have suggested it might be an undiscovered primate species, or even a surviving relative of early humans. Regardless of what it is, stories of the orang pendek have never gone away. Expeditions as recently as the early 2000s collected footprints and hair samples that some say point to a real, unknown species living in Sumatra's jungles. In Zambia and parts of the Congo, people talk about a flying creature with leathery wings, sharp teeth, and a wingspan reaching 6 feet across. It is called the Kongamato, which means overturner of boats. According to legend, it swoops down on rivers and attacks fishermen, tearing at their boats with its claws. Eyewitnesses describe it as looking like a living pterosaur, the prehistoric flying reptiles thought to have died out millions of years ago. Some colonial-era explorers in the early 1900s even collected stories from locals who insisted they had seen and fought with the beast. While skeptics say it could be large bats or even storks, the consistency of the reports over generations have kept this legend alive. The very idea of a prehistoric predator still lurking in remote jungles terrifies even seasoned explorers. Imagine camping in the highland forests of Kenya and waking in the night to the sound of heavy footsteps circling your tent. The creature blamed for this is the Nandi bear, also called chemosit. Locals describe it as a huge hyena-like beast with a sloping back, thick fur, and a vicious appetite. Stories say it attacks the heads of its victims, leaving the rest of the body behind. While no physical evidence has ever been found, the legend is so deeply ingrained in Kenyan folklore that colonial hunters in the 1900s launched expeditions just to find it. Some think this bear may have been based on sightings of giant prehistoric hyenas that once roamed Africa. Others say it is just a misidentified large hyena. Either way, the idea of a night-stalking predator that preys only on the head is enough to keep people wary of the dark forests. Deep in the jungles of Vietnam, Laos, and Borneo, there are stories of a hairy, human-like creature called the Batutut. American soldiers during the Vietnam War claimed to have seen them, describing them as muscular, covered in hair, and about 6 feet tall. Villagers, however, have been telling stories of this creature for centuries. They are said to walk upright, live in remote areas, and sometimes raid crops or livestock. Some anthropologists think these stories might be cultural memories of earlier human species like Homo erectus, while others argue they are simply misidentified animals. Yet the consistency of the sightings, especially during modern conflict like the Vietnam War, has kept the legend alive. The thought of soldiers in the middle of combat running into something unexplained in the jungle only adds to the creepiness. Few legends are more disturbing than the one about the Yakumama. In the Amazon basin, locals fear a massive serpent said to be over 100 feet long. Its name means mother of the water, and according to legend, it lurks in rivers and lakes, creating whirlpools to suck in its prey. Some explorers in the 1900s reported hearing strange booming noises underwater that locals insisted were the Yakumama calling out. Cryptozoologists suggest the legend may have come from sightings of massive anacondas, which can reach lengths of over 20 feet. While no confirmed snake longer than that has ever been reported, rumors of truly gigantic ones persist. The very idea of something that massive, silently gliding beneath murky jungle waters is enough to keep anyone from swimming too far out.
This big chonker was spotted in Brazil. Obviously, this is an anaconda, some of the largest snakes in the world. Not only are they long, but they're incredibly thick, very prehistoric looking animals. I mean, if I saw this, I would think the thing slithered right out of the Jurassic period. Just imagine having that thing wrap around you and slowly squeeze you to death. I say slowly, it would probably take like 30 seconds for that thing to squeeze the life out of me. Would you stand there filming it, or would you get the hell away from it? What you're looking at here is an African rock python. I know you don't really need me to tell you this, but it's a very big one. It was spotted by a man named Jason Moolman on a farm in Ballito, South Africa. Just look at how fast this thing moves, despite how large it is. These snakes can grow to be absolutely massive, easily reaching lengths of up to about 13 feet or about 4 meters, making them one of the longest snakes in Africa. It can take down prey much larger than itself, including antelope, warthogs, and even the occasional crocodile. What makes them even more impressive is how they use their surroundings. African rock pythons are incredibly versatile. They'll take shelter in caves, burrows, or even in abandoned termite mounds, making them hard to spot unless you know exactly where to look. And don't think they're limited to the ground either. These snakes are excellent climbers and can often be found lounging in trees, waiting for their next meal to wander by. This is a 34-foot, 990-pound anaconda that was discovered at a construction site in Brazil. Again, a giant-sized anaconda. I don't know if it's actually 34 feet. That's getting sorta close to the real-life length of a titanoboa, which reached up to 50 feet long, but who the hell knows what's lurking in the Amazon. The more illegal logging they're doing out there, the more stuff they're gonna find. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they let this snake go. There's another video of what I believe is the exact same snake strapped down to some equipment with the cameraman panning across its body just to show how truly massive it is. It's impressive for sure, but it's sad the thing was killed like this. Next up, we have the battle of the century, Cobra versus Python. Which snake used to name countless 80s movie villain gangs will come out on top? Take a look. Well, the python appears to be winning at first. It's got its body coiled around the cobra's head, but then you notice the cobra has part of the python's body in its mouth. So if the python can choke out the cobra before getting sucked into the massive python's mouth, maybe it'll win. Unfortunately, the video ends before we get to find out who wins, and maybe that's because neither won. Maybe both snakes turned their attention to the person filming, just like the tagline for Alien vs. Predator said, no matter who wins, wins, we lose. If you're thinking this video is fake, or at the very least a rare instance, well, you'd be surprised. Fights between cobras and pythons have been known to happen before. In this brutal fight that happened in Thailand a couple years ago, a python had itself wrapped around a king cobra who managed to break free of its grasp before devouring the thing whole. So it happens. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, there's a creature that's been the stuff of legends for generations. The Yaku Mama. The name comes from the Quechua language, where Yaku means water and Mama, of course, means mother. So it translates to Mother of the Waters. This giant serpent is said to live in the deep rivers, lakes, and swamps of the Amazon, and it's a creature that's been talked about by indigenous cultures in countries like Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. The Yaku Mama is often described as a massive serpent, sometimes said to be up to 160 feet long, and it's believed to be powerful enough to swallow entire boats or even small islands. People say it has the ability to consume anything within a 350-foot radius. The stories tell of its strength and size, but there's more. Some say it can shapeshift, control the weather, and even heal or harm those who encounter it. While different tribes have their own names for the creature, the tales all describe a giant river-dwelling snake. In modern times, some explorers have claimed to spot it, with one father-son team, Mike and Greg Warner, even saying they captured it on camera during an aerial survey of the rainforest. But most scientists think these stories may have been inspired by the fossilized remains of prehistoric serpents like the Titanoboa. Again though, the Amazon is massive. I would not be surprised if there was a giant serpent lurking somewhere deep in the forest. Now this is cool. In early 2024, a group of archaeologists were digging in the Panama jungle when they opened a tomb that hadn't been touched in over 1,000 years. And what was inside? A whole bunch of treasure. There were gold belts, gold plates, earrings shaped like crocodiles, bells, bone flutes, and I never thought I'd say this out loud in my life, but there was also a skirt made out of dog teeth. Yeah, dog teeth. As for who was buried there, they're calling him the Lord of the Flutes, but he actually wasn't alone. Archaeologists say up to 31 other people were sacrificed and buried with him. The tomb was completely hidden under the jungle and totally untouched. And the level of gold and craftsmanship here was impressive. One researcher said the discovery had, quote, incalculable historical and cultural value, end quote. Now, this wasn't the kind of place archaeologists expected to find a burial like this. It's not one of the major empires like the Aztec or Maya. It's just a small group living out in the jungle. So how did this much gold end up here? And who was this guy? No one's really sure, but it definitely makes you wonder how much we still don't know about ancient civilizations hiding out in the rainforest. This wasn't even supposed to be a discovery. In 2024, a grad student named Luke Ald Thomas was going through some old LiDAR data, basically laser scans of the jungle done to check on forest health, nothing to do with archaeology in this case. But then he noticed something odd. There's strange lines, big rectangles, stuff that didn't look natural at all. And it turns out he just found an entire lost Maya city that no one had any idea existed. They're calling it Valeriana, and it's massive. There are over 6,000 buildings with pyramids, ball courts, plazas, roads, and a water system. And the wildest part is that it was just sitting under the trees the whole time. Experts think as many as 50,000 people lived there, around 750 to 850 CE, and somehow this whole place got completely forgotten. It's like if someone found a major city the size of San Francisco completely covered in forest and just nobody noticed it for over 1,000 years. That's how unexplored this part of the jungle is. In 2023, archaeologist Ivan Sprayitz and his team were deep in the Mexican jungle, just hacking through trees with machetes, and that's when they came across something massive. It was an entire lost Maya city totally swallowed by the forest. They'd set out to see what was up after scanning the forest with LiDAR. They named the place Acamtun, which means stone column in the Yucatec Maya language, and that's because this place is filled with giant stone pillars. They found pyramids, ceremonial plazas, altars, carved staircases, and a ball court, all built high up on natural terraces to keep everything above flood level. According to Sprayitz, when we got there, our suspicions were confirmed. Architecturally, it was truly massive. They think Akhenaten was at its peak between 600 and 900, the late classic Maya period. It's probably a pretty important city, but obviously, at some point, it was abandoned and totally forgotten. And it just sat there for over 1,000 years, buried under layers of trees and vines. So back in 2015, scientists exploring the Mesquite jungle in Honduras found something that for a long time had only been a legend. A lost city buried deep in the rainforest, filled with stone sculptures of jaguars, half-human creatures, thrones, all kinds of ceremonial objects. They nicknamed it the City of the Jaguar. This place is interesting because it lines up with old stories about La Ciudad Blanca, or the White City, a legendary place that's been part of folklore for ages. Just nobody had any proof it existed. The whole thing started with a LiDAR scan. They noticed straight lines under the trees, so a team led by archaeologist Christopher Fisher and filmmaker Steve Elkins went to check it out, and they found what Fisher called the most undisturbed site he'd ever been part of. He told National Geographic, "This is not like finding a pot in a museum. It's the whole site with context intact, and that's incredibly rare." Another archaeologist, Oscar Neil Cruz from the Honduran Institute of Anthropology, called it one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 21st century. Strangely, no one knows exactly who built this place. It's not Maya. It's like an entire culture just rose up, built this city, then disappeared without a trace.
Not all jungle legends involve giant beasts. Some are about small, eerie figures. Across Central and South America, people tell stories of the duende, little goblin-like creatures that live in forests and jungles. They are usually described as small, humanoid, and mischievous, sometimes helping lost travelers, but more often luring them deeper into danger. Spanish colonists in the 16th century reported hearing about duendes from indigenous people, and the legend spread widely. In Belize, they are said to kidnap people who wander into the forest alone. In other countries, they whistle to confuse travelers, and some historians think that the duende legend may be a cultural way of warning people about the dangers of wandering off alone in thick forests. But for those who swear they've seen them, the duende are very real and very disturbing. In the rainforests of Java, villagers speak of a terrifying bat-like creature called the ahul. Its wings are said to stretch over 10 feet wide, and its cry echoes through the trees at night. The ahul is described as looking like a massive bat or even a flying primate with leathery wings. In 1925, a Dutch naturalist claimed he saw a huge bat-like animal near a river in West Java, sparking interest in the legend outside Indonesia. Some scientists argue it could be sightings of giant owls or fruit bats, but locals insist the ahul is something far more sinister. To them, it's a predator that swoops down from the jungle canopy, hunting at night. The thought of a giant, bloodthirsty bat gliding silently over the treetops has made the ahul one of Southeast Asia's most unsettling jungle creatures. In the jungles of Veracruz and Oaxaca in Mexico, people speak of the cheneque, forest spirits that are said to guard nature. They are described as small, elf-like beings that can trick travelers and lead them astray. What makes the legend so unsettling is that people claim encounters with them leave victims sick or mentally disoriented, sometimes for weeks. Anthropologists trace the legend back to the Totonac and Nawa mythology, where they were guardians of the earth. Even today, reports of people hearing laughter or seeing small figures vanish into the jungle continue. For locals, it's not just a myth. They leave offerings to these creatures to stay safe in the forests, proof that this disturbing legend still has power. In the mid-1990s, reports began to pour out of Puerto Rico about a strange creature attacking livestock at night. Farmers would wake up to find goats, chickens, and even cattle drained of blood with small puncture wounds on their necks. The culprit, according to locals, was the chupacabra, which literally means goat sucker. Descriptions of the creature vary, but many say it has red glowing eyes, spines along its back, and walks on two legs. What makes this legend disturbing is that the reports quickly spread across Latin America, especially in Mexico, where villagers swore they had seen the creature lurking in jungle-like terrain near farms. Scientists suggest the attacks were caused by wild dogs or even mange-ridden coyotes, but the eerie consistency of the wounds and the sheer number of eyewitness accounts turned the chupacabra into one of the most famous cryptids in history. Even today, locals warn about it, and strange livestock killings are still sometimes blamed on this blood-sucking creature.
These are the rice terraces of the Philippines. They're a pretty breathtaking feat of ancient engineering. These terraces, carved into the steep slopes of the Cordillera Mountains over 2,000 years ago, are often called the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. The terraces were designed to grow rice, but the real magic is in how they were built, using the natural contours of the land and without modern technology. Generations of indigenous Ifugao people with basic tools created all of this. It's said the Ifugao people didn't just build the terraces, they became the land. They engineered intricate irrigation systems, creating channels and bamboo pipes that bring water from nearby rivers all the way up to the fields so that the crops are healthy even in the dry season. What's even crazier is that these terraces are still in use today. People are still farming rice on the very same terraces that were built over 2,000 years ago. San Agustin Archaeological Park in Colombia is home to the largest collection of megalithic sculptures in Latin America and is considered the world's largest necropolis. There are all kinds of statues here, which were likely carved between 5 and 400 CE. You'll find gigantic anthropomorphic figures of jaguars, crocodiles, and birds. Some statues stand as high as 23 feet, or about 7 meters. Others are smaller, but still very impressive. We still don't know exactly who created them or why. What is clear is that a lot of the statues appear to guard burial mounds, which means maybe the ancient culture believed in protecting the deceased in the afterlife. The site was first documented by a Spanish monk in the 18th century, but it wasn't until much later that serious excavations happened. And today, San Agustin is an UNESCO World Heritage Site with over 500 statues scattered across more than 50 square kilometers. Great Zimbabwe, found in modern-day Zimbabwe, is one of Africa's most incredible ancient sites and the largest collection of ruins south of the Sahara. Legend has it that this is where the biblical Queen of Sheba once ruled, but in reality the city existed between the 11th and 15th centuries. The exact identity of the people who built it was debated for years, with a lot of the colonial government in Rhodesia outright refusing to believe that the advanced city was built by native Africans, but today it's generally accepted that the Shona people built the city. At one point, Great Zimbabwe was home to around 18,000 people, and its massive stone walls, some reaching 5 meters or about 16.5 feet in height, were built without any mortar. Nanmadol in Micronesia is an ancient city built on over 100 tiny islets, earning its nickname Venice of the Pacific. There's a lot of mystery behind how it was built. Local legends say two wizard brothers, Olishipa and Oloshipa, arrived from across the sea in a giant canoe, and they wanted to create a place to honor the gods of the sea and harvest. After two failed attempts to move giant stones to the site, they used the magic of a dragon to levitate the blocks. Nanmadol's construction is still being studied today. The people who built it didn't have pulleys, cranes, no metal tools, so it's believed they moved nearly 2,000 tons of stone every year for over 400 years. How they managed this, especially in such a remote area, is still one of history's greatest mysteries. Angkor Wat in Cambodia is one of the most jaw-dropping ancient structures in the world. It's also the largest religious monument in the world. It was originally built in the early 12th century, designed as a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Vishnu. By the 14th century, it had become a Buddhist temple. which it remains to this day. The entire temple complex is surrounded by a massive moat. The main temple rises up with 5 towering spires representing the 5 peaks of Mount Meru, the center of the Hindu universe. The walls are etched with incredible images of mythical creatures and battle scenes, and the craftsmanship is so intricate that it really feels like a completely different world. And that's just from images and video I've seen. I can only imagine what it'd be like actually stepping into this place. And Angkor Wat is just part of what was once a much larger city, Angkor, which once housed over 1 million people. And that's massive when you consider it was built in a time long before cranes and other modern tools. Over the centuries, the jungle slowly is creeping back in, and it's overtaking a lot of the city, leaving behind this incredible hidden world that wasn't fully rediscovered until the 19th century. Definitely a place I gotta add to my list of places I want to go. The tapir awara is a legendary creature the size of a cow, believed to stalk the Amazon rainforest. A territorial, aggressive creature said to attack people in boats. The creature is described as a mix between a tapir and a jaguar, but is it just a mythical monster or a new species waiting to be discovered? Witnesses say the creatures are about 9 feet long with red or red gold fur and occasionally blackish gray fur with white patches or stripes. Its face is kind of cat-like, but without the spots you'd expect from a jaguar. Instead, it has large drooping ears, more like a cow, and legs that look like they belong to a donkey. Some sightings even describe it having a mix of paws and hooves. It's also semi-aquatic, often seen in the swamps and creeks of the Amazon, swimming or standing in the water. It's also said to be carnivorous with large razor-sharp teeth. There are tales of it capturing caimans and even rumors that it could eat humans. The creature is also described slapping its ears against the water, similar to how a beaver would use its tail. The Amazon jungle is vast enough that new species are being discovered there all the time. Most of them a lot smaller than a cow-sized predatory animal, but there's a lot of unexplored land, you never know. The Holadera is a lake monster, which was said to be spotted by biologist and freshwater detective Jeremy Wade. Wade first saw this creature in the Brazilian Amazon basin in 1993. He was out on a small boat fishing when he spotted this serpentine creature poking out of the water, and it had ridges on its back. He told some locals about what he'd seen, and nobody really believed him, but a year later he returned to the spot and ended up speaking to a man who also claimed to have seen a similar creature just a couple weeks before. Wade went out on another trek to try and spot the creature, and he did. Getting a closer look though, he figured that it was maybe just an Amazon River dolphin, with the ridges on the back possibly coming from it being injured by propeller blades, or having been deliberately mutilated by a fisherman. But it's not 100% certain if this is the case, or if there was actually some unknown creature out there. The Mapinguari is said to be a massive hairy creature, almost like a gigantic ground sloth, that stalks the rainforest and has been described by native tribes for hundreds and hundreds of years. Many tribes in the rainforest, even those not in contact, tell tales of a massive creature roughly 7 to 8 feet tall, emitting a powerful odor that can disorient hunters. Described as either roaring or fetid, this creature is known as the Mapinguari. Researchers have organized expeditions to try and find this rainforest giant, but no bones or scat samples have ever been discovered. Some scientists speculate that the Mapinguari legends might be rooted in ancient encounters with the last giant ground sloths in the Amazon, possibly dating back around 10,000 years, when these sloths are believed to have become extinct. If this extinction date is inaccurate though, the interactions with humans might have occurred more recently. Now, there are cryptid stories from all around the world, lake monsters, tons of variations of Bigfoot, and we've covered tons of them on the channel, but when it comes to cryptids in the Amazon, it's really not that far-fetched. Again, the Amazon forest is just massive and dense. A majority of it is just unexplored, and it could be filled with tons of animal species that are still unknown to the scientific world. But away from the cryptids for a bit, the black caiman is actually known to exist, the Amazon's biggest known predator, an enormous crocodilian that can grow over 16 feet long, weighing in at around 1,000 pounds. Yikes. They prowl rivers and lakes in search of fish, smaller reptiles, and even larger mammals given the opportunity. Female black caimans are dedicated moms. They build nests along the riverbanks and fiercely guard their eggs until they hatch. So if you do happen to be traveling along the Amazon River and you come across a baby caiman, just get out of there as fast as you can. As scary and dangerous as these animals are though, they're important for the ecosystem. They help keep aquatic life in balance, controlling the populations of their prey, which is why poaching of these crocs is such a major issue. They're an endangered species, and not only is that sad on its own, it's also affected the population of animals like piranhas and capybaras. There's just too many of them, and that's now negatively affecting agriculture and livestock.
In our number 5 spot today, we have Ciudad Perdida. Hidden deep within Colombia's Sierra Nevada mountains lies Ciudad Perdida, the Lost City, an awe-inspiring ancient metropolis built by the Tairona people around 800 CE, centuries before Machu Picchu. Swallowed by dense rainforest and forgotten for over a millennia, it remained hidden until treasure hunters stumbled upon its moss-covered stone steps in 1972. The site boasts a complex network of tiled roads, terraces, and circular plazas carved into the mountainside, showcasing the Tairona's remarkable urban planning and engineering skills. Exploring Ciudad Perdida not only unveils the secrets of a civilization that thrived in harmony with nature, but also leaves us wondering how many more lost worlds are waiting to be discovered beneath the jungle canopy. In our number 4 spot today, we have the lost city of the monkey god in Honduras. Hidden deep within a rainforest in Honduras lies the legendary lost city of the monkey god, also known as La Ciudad Blanca or the White City. For centuries, explorers and locals spoke of this mysterious place, shrouded in myth and said to be filled with immense treasures and guarded by ancient deities. In 2015, a team of researchers made a groundbreaking discovery using LiDAR technology, which allowed them to see through the dense jungle canopy from the air. What they found were structures hinting at a complex pre-Columbian society that had been lost to time. As archaeologists ventured into the untouched terrain, they uncovered plazas, elaborate earthworks, and a stunning cache of stone sculptures depicting animals and possibly deities, all evidence of a civilization that thrived between 1000 and 1400 CE. The discovery not only confirmed age-old legends, but also provided invaluable insights into a forgotten chapter of human history. In our number 3 spot today, we have Cuelap in Peru. Hidden high in the cloud forests of northern Peru lies Cuelap, an ancient fortress built by the enigmatic Chachapoya culture around the 6th century CE. Overgrown and concealed by dense vegetation for centuries, it wasn't until the 19th century that explorers rediscovered this monumental site. Cuelap boasts massive stone walls soaring up to 60 feet high and encompasses hundreds of circular stone buildings perched atop a mountain ridge. These architectural marvels offer a tantalizing glimpse into the lives of the warriors of the clouds, as the Chachapoya are known. The sheer scale and sophistication of Cuelap rival that of more famous sites, yet it remains one of history's best kept secrets. In our number 2 spot today, we have the secret Amazon city. Hidden for millennia beneath the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest, an enormous ancient city has been unearthed in the Upano region of eastern Ecuador, radically altering our understanding of Amazonian history. Previously, it was believed that the Amazon was home only to nomadic tribes or small settlements. But this city, built around 2,500 years ago and inhabited for up to a millennia, tells a very different story. Archaeologists discovered an astonishing network of roads and canals connecting over 6,000 rectangular platforms, each about 20 meters by 10 meters and up to 3 meters high, arranged in groups around central plazas. Some structures, like the massive 140 by 40 meter platform at Quillamope, suggests ceremonial purposes. This sophisticated road system includes straight paths that extend up to 25 kilometers kilometers, featuring impressive right angles and engineering that managed the abundant water through canals. Nestled in the shadow of a volcano that enriched the soil, but may have also led to the society's demise, this metropolis challenges Eurocentric views of civilization by revealing a complex, interconnected urban society thriving in the Amazon. Who would have imagined that beneath the jungle's lush greenery lay a city possibly rivaling the size and complexity of ancient highland civilizations like Machu Picchu? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Mahendraparvata. Hidden deep within Cambodia's dense jungles lies an ancient city from the Khmer Empire that remained concealed for centuries. Although explorers had inklings of its existence, it wasn't until 2012 that the true extent of this lost city was revealed, thanks to archaeologists Jean-Baptiste Chavance and Damien Evans using cutting-edge LiDAR technology. This airborne laser scanning peeled back the jungle canopy to unveil an elaborate grid of temples, roads, and ponds, all dating back to 802 AD, making it about 350 years older than Angkor Wat. Founded by Jayavarman II, the city's name means Mountain of the Great Indra, referencing the sacred mountain where he was crowned the first king of the Khmer Empire. Even the French archaeologist Philippe Stern, who explored the area in 1936, only scratched the surface of its secrets.
The Brazilian wandering spider is one of the most venomous spiders in the world. They're highly venomous. Their bites can cause excruciating pain and can even be fatal to humans. What makes these spiders really interesting is their hunting style. Unlike many spiders that just sit and wait for prey to come to them, the Brazilian wandering spider wanders around in search of prey. They're proactive about where they get their food. They're nocturnal hunters roaming around at night chasing down insects, amphibians, and even small mammals like mice. And if you're unlucky enough to be camping out in the jungle, you may have one of these things crawl into your tent. The females are very protective. They keep a close eye on their egg sacs and take care of their spiderlings once they hatch. Physically, these spiders are about as terrifying as they sound, big and hairy, and on top of that, they're known for being very fast and agile, often sprinting and pouncing on their prey. And the last thing I ever want to see a big hairy spider do is pounce. I mentioned piranha populations growing in the Amazon, so let's talk more about them. There's a reason these fish are notorious enough to have like 12 horror movies about them. They're known for their aggressive feeding habits. Piranhas can really go wild during what's called a feeding frenzy. They coordinate their bites though, taking turns on their prey until everyone in the school has had a share and their victim looks like a piece of Swiss cheese. Piranhas mostly eat other fish, but will also attack insects, crustaceans, and even small mammals. Piranhas they're kind of like zombies. Individually, not that scary, but a whole pack of them and you have a problem. And piranhas form schools that can number in the hundreds. It's safety in numbers, and it makes them more effective hunters. There's a lot of variety amongst piranha species as well, with some growing up to 16 inches, which is bigger than I thought. I also talked about the black caiman earlier, one of the deadliest predators in the Amazon. Do they have anyone to worry about? Well, yes, they do. It's called the green anaconda, one of the largest snake species on the planet. There are longer snakes out there, but none are as heavy and thick as green anacondas. Females often reach up to 550 pounds, and they can grow over 29 feet long with a thickness of about 12 inches. These beasts rely on their incredible muscular strength to constrict and suffocate their prey before eating them whole. And their diet is pretty diverse, including animals like capybaras, deer, caimans again, and even jaguars. Another one of the most dangerous animals in the Amazon jungle. These snakes prefer shallower waters, which help them sneak up on their prey. Electric eels are some pretty shocking creatures. Another one of the most dangerous creatures in the Amazon. They can produce an output of 600 volts, about 5 times what it takes to incapacitate a human. They use this electric shock both for defense and to stun their prey, discharging all their electrolytes at once. It's a seriously impressive survival tactic, and it makes them incredibly terrifying. Plus, these things can grow up to 8 feet long and weigh around 40 pounds. They usually lurk at the bottom of the water, where they hunt fish and small amphibians. Poison dart frogs are small, really beautiful looking frogs found in Central and South American rainforests. They have all these vibrant, striking colors, shades of bright blue, orange, yellow, black. But in nature, bright colors like this can sometimes hint at danger, and that's definitely the case here. Poison dart frogs are, unsurprisingly, very poisonous. They secrete poisonous toxins through their skin, making them one of the most poisonous creatures on Earth in general. There are lots of different species of this frog. One of the most poisonous is the golden poison frog, which is pure bright yellow. These frogs are very small, but they're very powerful in terms of toxicity. The toxins they produce are potent enough that just a single golden poison frog has the potential to take out as many as 20 men. That's nuts. The poison dart frog gets its name from the indigenous tribes of Central and South America, who use the toxic secretions from these frogs to poison the tips of blow darts. By applying the frog's toxic slime to the dart tips, they turn their hunting tools into even deadlier weapons. Interestingly though, when in captivity away from their natural environment and diet, poison dart frogs actually lose their toxicity. They actually get their toxic powers from these foods that they're able to eat in the wild, like certain types of poisonous ants and mites. Finally, let's talk about all the legends of giant snakes slithering through the dense Amazon forest. Ones other than the green anaconda, even bigger. Massive sized anacondas do exist. Again, I guess every anaconda is technically massive, but there are legends about ones larger than any documented by science for thousands of years. One explorer who claimed to have come across one is Percy Harrison Fawcett, the guy who apparently found the lost city of Z. These giant snakes are often described as being over 40 feet in length and incredibly girthy. The longest known snake we have on record was a python measuring in at 32 feet. So, while on an expedition in Bolivia, Fawcett claimed to have come face to face with one of these massive sized serpents, and not only that, he said he slayed the thing, which was approximately 62 feet long and at least 1 foot in diameter. Pretty outlandish, but I mean, what do you think? Was he just full of it? Or did they see a big snake and just misidentified its true length? Let's start with one of Australia's most mysterious legends, the bunyip. This creature has supposedly been haunting the swamps, rivers, and billabongs of Australia for centuries. The word bunyip is said to mean devil or evil spirit in some Aboriginal languages, and as you can imagine, that's because this thing is not friendly. The bunyip is often described as this big, terrifying creature, though what it looks like exactly changes depending on who you ask. Some say it's got a more dog-like face, a horse tail with flippers. Other descriptions are more walrus-like. The appearance varies, but the bunyip is more known for how it sounds. It's said to make this low, booming cry that's been reported by people who claim to have heard it in the dead of night. European settlers started hearing about the bunyip in the 1800s. There's a story from 1845 about a man who found some bones near Geelong. When he showed them to an Aboriginal person, the guy immediately recognized them as belonging to a bunyip. This got people talking, and soon enough, there were reports of people being attacked by this creature, with some saying the bunyip would hug its prey to death. Next up is the orang mawa. There are legends of giant ape-like creatures all over the world. You got Sasquatch, Yeti, the skunk ape. While in Malaysia, they have the orang mawa. This bipedal ape is said to live in the jungle of Johor. It's about 10 feet tall and covered in thick black fur. Sightings of the creature go back centuries. The first documented sighting was in 1871. In terms of more recent sightings though, back in 1995, people talked about finding big footprints with 4 toes. Then in November of 2005, there was a big fuss when 3 workers busy clearing land for a pond claimed that they saw a Mawa family, 2 grown-ups and a youngling strolling near the Kinshin River. After that, they discovered some pretty big footprints, one of them measuring 18 inches apparently. A photo of a new footprint in tar, supposedly from the Mawas, made it into Malaysian newspapers in January of 2006. Batutut. Now, this is basically Borneo's version of Bigfoot. I promise this whole list will not just be big, hairy ape creatures, but it will not be the last either. Batutut, also known as the Bornean orang pendek, is a cryptid said to roam the jungles of Borneo, described as a humanoid creature standing around 7 feet tall. It has long, dark hair covering its body. Witnesses often say it looks a bit like an orangutan, but more human. Sightings of this creature have been reported for centuries, but the indigenous people of Borneo, mostly in the remote rainforests, the creature is said to move fast and is elusive and shy. And hey, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If there's a species of big, hairy ape creatures roaming around somewhere on the planet, I could see them living in this part of the world. The jungles, just vast, dense, teeming with life. Hey, why not, right? Alright, moving away from tall, hairy monsters for a moment to talk about short, hairless monsters, or aliens. Would aliens be considered monsters? I don't know, I'd call them monsters. Would you? Let us know down in the comments. These are important questions that must be answered. Alright, anyway, this photo you're looking at here was taken by a man named Michael Cohen. It was 2011 when 2 tourists were exploring the Amazon region in Brazil near Manaus, and they snapped this photo. The picture, taken by a writer named Michael Cohen, showed what really looks to be an alien being lurking in the background. The creature in the photo doesn't look like any known animal. It's humanoid, but not quite human, and its shape is unlike any life form that we know. What makes the whole thing even creepier, though, is the fact that the Manaus region is known for having a lot of UFO sightings. People have reported seeing strange lights and crafts in the sky for years, and some think it may be that aliens are interested in all the animal and plant life. It would make sense. I mean, if we had the technology to explore other planets, we'd probably want to study the areas that were the most rich in biodiversity. Another interesting thing, the Brazilian government apparently conducted a secret investigation called Operation Prato in the late 70s. The army was sent to monitor the area for alien activity after reports of UFOs started coming in. The operation was kept under wraps for decades, but it was eventually declassified, revealing that the government had been seriously looking into UFOs and possibly alien encounters in the region. What you're looking at here is footage of one of the last surviving thylacines, aka the Tasmanian tiger. This animal was once found all over Tasmania, Australia, New Guinea, but it was declared extinct in the 1930s. Is it actually extinct, though? The thylacine was a carnivore with a stiff kangaroo-like tail and had a pouch just like a marsupial. The creature was a bit of a mystery, even back in its day. It was a very rare animal. So rare, it was actually thought to be a legend. So it was pretty incredible when these things were actually found to exist, just in really small numbers. And after the last known one died in captivity in 1936, people thought that they were just gone for good. But stories of thylacine sightings have been popping up for decades. There have been reports from locals, hikers, even hunters who claim to have spotted the animal roaming the wilds of Tasmania. Some say they've seen it darting through the bush or crossing roads late at night. One of the most compelling reasons people think the thylacine could still be alive is, well, for one, it used to be alive, and the fact that Tasmania is so remote. The island is full of thick, rugged forests and mountains, places that are hard to explore thoroughly, so it's not completely out of the question that a few of these animals could have managed to stay hidden from humans. It's not just locals who believe in these things' survival either. Some scientists, conservationists, and cryptozoologists also agree, citing strange footage and unclear animal tracks found in the wild. There's even a documentary on the subject, with people traveling deep into the Tasmanian wilderness looking for proof. Let's talk about a creepy legend from the Hawaiian Islands, the Night Marchers. These spirits are said to be the vengeful ghosts of ancient Hawaiian warriors, and they're rumored to haunt certain areas of the islands, especially at night. And if you cross their path, you're in serious trouble. A pretty eerie story comes from a woman named Kay Borles, who was running a 100-mile endurance race through the Hawaiian rainforests in 2019. The race, known as the Hurt 100, is intense. miles. It's a 20-mile loop through dense, muddy trails, and you gotta run it 5 times, because that's how math works. While running with her friend Cassie, who was taking photos to document the run, Borlase unknowingly captured something strange in one of the pictures. When they looked at one of the photos later that night, they spotted a figure standing in the background, a figure neither of them had seen while running. Borlase took to Reddit to share what happened, saying, "Notice the figure in the frame to the left of my head? We never saw anyone passing us, and there were no statues along the trail. It is not photoshopped or made. This is legit." After doing some research, she and her friend believe they might have seen one of the night marchers. According to Hawaiian legend, anyone who locks eyes with a night marcher will die violently, unless they lie down and show respect. Fortunately for Borlase, she didn't see anything directly. If you've ever flown over northern Bolivia, especially during the dry season, you might spot thousands of ancient earthworks. This area is known as the Llanos de Moxos, or the Beni Savannas. There are incredibly complex systems of raised fields, long causeways, canals, artificial mounds, and forest islands that were intentionally planted. This entire engineered landscape stretches out over a massive 50,000 square miles. Archaeologists have discovered that different cultures built these things over thousands of years, starting as far back as 800 CE, and were around right up until Europeans showed up. The ancient Amazonians were brilliant engineers, figuring out how to completely redesign their environment to handle both the extreme wet and dry seasons. Those raised fields were perfect for farming even when everything else was flooded. Canals helped with irrigation and transportation, and the artificial mounds were where they built their villages. It totally flips the script on the old idea that the Amazon was just this green desert that couldn't support big populations. At Serra de Capivara National Park in northeastern Brazil, there's an insane collection of rock art, with some sites holding thousands of individual paintings spread across hundreds of natural rock shelters. The pieces depict everything from hunting scenes and daily life to animals, rituals, and you also have your more abstract symbols. Some of these paintings have been around for a very long time. Some could be up to 25,000 years old, maybe even more. That makes them some of the oldest evidence of human presence in the Americas. These people have been living here for a very, very long time. It challenges the earlier theories about when and how humans first settled in the Americas, pushing back the timeline quite a bit. Now, like I said earlier, for ages people thought that the Amazon just couldn't support big settled groups before Europeans showed up. Like, sure, there were some small tribes, but no major cities. Well, new discoveries have shown that there were large areas of what some are calling garden cities. These super modified landscapes stretching across different regions. We're uncovering tons of proof that these ancient communities were master forest managers, practicing large-scale farming and living in settlements that were more spread out, not crammed together like European cities, but still connected by trails and clearings. Scientists are digging up more and more evidence of them intentionally planting trees, carefully managing what plants were useful, and not to mention that super soil that we chatted about earlier. All of this points to them supporting way bigger communities than anyone ever thought. So no, the Amazon wasn't this untapped wilderness. It was actually very well managed. Deep in Rondônia, Brazil, archaeologists have been finding proof ancient fortified settlements. I'm not talking about just a few simple ditches. These are big, some of what look like stone walls or foundations, which is a huge deal because stone is not a common building material in the Amazon. For example, at places like the Toatonio waterfall area on the Madeira River, they found signs of large settlements that were occupied for thousands of years, with some going back as far as 8,000 years. The size of these places and how long people lived there, plus the fact that they had defenses, it tells us that these communities were pretty established and would have needed to protect their resources and land. Alright, this last one is super fascinating because it's about a very distinct type of settlement discovered using satellite imagery. In the upper Tapajos region of the Brazilian Amazon, researchers have found evidence of ancient villages laid out in almost perfect circles. They've been deliberately designed this way, some dating back as far as 1300 CE. These villages, often called ring villages, show a really unique and organized social structure. You typically see a central plaza or a clearing surrounded by a ring of houses. Sometimes archaeologists have spotted outer rings of earthworks or ditches, which probably means they were for defense or just to mark off their space, and most of these places are being found using drones and satellite imagery.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Valeriana, Mexico. We are starting off with the most recent discovery, which was just announced this week. Deep within the dense jungles of Mexico's Campeche state, a massive Maya city, lost for centuries beneath the canopy, has been accidentally rediscovered, turning our understanding of ancient civilizations on its head. PhD student Luke Ald Thomas stumbled upon this hidden metropolis, now named Valeriana, while sifting through online LiDAR data intended for environmental monitoring. Using this laser mapping technology, which reveals structures buried under thick vegetation, he uncovered pyramids, sports fields, causeways connecting districts, and amphitheaters sprawled across an area the size of Edinburgh. Dating back to 750 to 850 AD, Valeriana may have been home to 30,000 to 50,000 people, more than the region's population today. Astonishingly, this lost city lies just a 15-minute hike from a major road near Ishpuil, yet it remained hidden because the jungle had entirely reclaimed it. The discovery challenges the old notion that the tropics were inhospitable to advanced civilizations, unveiling instead a rich and complex Maya culture that thrived here, with thousands of buildings including plazas with temple pyramids and evidence of sophisticated urban planning. Valeriana offers a captivating glimpse into a world that was never meant to be found. In our number 9 spot today, we have El Mirador in Guatemala. Hidden deep within the jungles of northern Guatemala is El Mirador, an ancient Maya city that remained lost for nearly 2,000 years. Once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the Maya civilization, it housed around 200,000 people and featured monumental structures like the Ladanta Pyramid, one of the largest pyramids in the world by volume. Archaeologists like Richard Hansen have been unearthing its secrets, revealing a sophisticated society that existed centuries earlier than previously thought. The city boasts massive pyramids, intricate friezes depicting mythological hero twins, and an extensive network of causeways connecting it to other Maya sites. Isn't it astounding that such an advanced civilization could vanish into the jungle only to reshape our understanding of history when it was rediscovered? In our number 8 spot today, we have Angamuco in Mexico. Nestled in the dense forests of Michoacan, Angamuco was an ancient city built by the Purépecha civilization, which were fierce rivals of the Aztecs. Founded around 900 CE, this sprawling metropolis is thought to have been home to up to 100,000 people at its peak, making it comparable in size to modern-day cities. The city remained concealed under thick vegetation until 2007, when archaeologists stumbled upon it. But it wasn't until 2011 that the true scale of Angamuco was revealed thanks to LiDAR technology. By shooting lasers from airplanes to penetrate the jungle canopy, researchers mapped out an area covering about 26 square kilometers or 10 square miles, uncovering thousands of structures that had been hidden for over a millennium. Angamuco is astonishing for its sheer size and complexity. The city features an intricate network of pyramids, plazas, roadways, and residential areas. What's particularly fascinating is its urban planning. Unlike other Mesoamerican cities that were built around a central core, Angamuco's structures are spread out evenly, almost like a grid. This challenges previous notions about urban development in ancient civilization. Isn't it kind of mind-blowing that such a massive city, bustling with life centuries ago, could just vanish into the jungle and escape our notice until recently? It definitely makes you wonder what other secrets are still hidden beneath the trees, waiting to reshape our understanding of history. In our number 7 spot today, we have Kokhair in Cambodia. Hidden deep within the remote jungles of northern Cambodia lies Kokhair, a long-forgotten city that once served as the capital of the Khmer Empire from 928 to 944 CE. For centuries, this remarkable place was swallowed by dense forests, its temples and monuments concealed by overgrown vegetation. It wasn't until French explorers ventured into the area in the late 19th century that Kokhair resurfaced from obscurity. The site is famous for its unique 7-tiered pyramid, which stands out with its striking and unconventional architecture, unlike anything else in the region. Scattered throughout the area are numerous temples adorned with intricate stone sculptures, offering a glimpse into a brief but significant period when the Khmer capital shifted away from Angkor. While many of these artifacts were once targets of looting, they are now protected, allowing us to appreciate the distinct artistic styles and cultural innovations of that era. In our number 6 spot today, we have Calakmul, Mexico. Hidden deep within the dense jungles of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula lies Calakmul, an ancient Maya city that was once a dominant force in the Maya world. After its decline around the 10th century CE, this place was swallowed by the forest, its massive pyramids and palaces forgotten for nearly a millennium. It wasn't until 1931 that biologist Cyrus L. Lundell, while conducting an aerial survey, spotted the towering structures peeking through the canopy and brought this lost city back into the world's attention. Archaeologists have since uncovered over 6,000 structures, including some of the tallest pyramids ever built by the Maya. Calakmul was a fierce rival to Tikal in present-day Guatemala, and the discoveries here have shed incredible light on ancient Maya politics, warfare, and the complex dynamics between competing city-states.
The Jangu are these weird mystical water spirits that come from the folklore of Cameroon. They're kind of like mermaids. They're described as having long flowing hair. They're beautiful, not the evil kind of water spirits that lure men into the water and kill them though. In fact, they're seen as protectors, sort of like guardians of the water, bringing blessings to the people who respect them. They're said to live in the depths of rivers or the ocean, and locals believe if you treat the water with respect, the Jangu might just help you out. Some stories say they can heal the sick, bring good luck, but if you disrespect the water, if you get on their bad side, then you're in trouble. The Jangu have a reputation for dragging people under, not to kill them, but to take them into their underwater world where time doesn't seem to work the same way. In the dense forests of Mexico, especially around the Yucatan Peninsula, there are tiny creatures known as chaneks. These little guys are mischievous, kind of elf-like beings, barely a few feet tall, and they love nothing more than leading travelers off the beaten path. They're tricky. You can be walking through the jungle, minding your own business, and then suddenly you've lost your way. You'll think you've been walking for hours, only to realize it's been minutes. But worse than that, you'll feel like you're in a dream where nothing makes sense. Some say these little spirits are responsible for people getting lost for days in places that seem familiar, only to come out and realize they've wandered miles off course. It's said that if you're unlucky enough to encounter a chanek, you'll have trouble remembering how you got there or how to get out. While they aren't necessarily harmful, physically anyway, the pranks they pull are enough to drive anyone mad. Some will claim to hear laughter echoing from the trees when they know they're being toyed with. But here's a pro tip if you want to avoid these things, not that I've experienced myself. A pro tip from other people: leave a small offering like tobacco or food to keep them happy. Otherwise, be prepared to wander forever in their little pocket of the jungle. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, there's a creature that hunters and locals fear more than jaguars or anacondas: the mapinguari. If you see it up close, you probably won't live long enough to tell the story. Descriptions of the creature vary, but most agree it's this hulking beast standing up to 10 feet tall with thick, matted fur and a single glowing red eye in the middle of its forehead. That sounds bad enough already, but it gets worse. The creature is also said to have a second mouth right in the middle of its stomach. Witnesses say it lets out a horrific guttural scream. If you're unlucky enough to get close, the smell alone could knock you out. It reeks of death and rotting meat. Some believe the Mapinguari was once a shaman who defied nature and was cursed to wander the jungle forever. Others think it's a prehistoric beast that never went extinct, a leftover from a time when humans weren't at the top of the food chain. Either way, though, hunters avoid areas where strange, deep footprints are found, and travelers who ignore the warnings sometimes just don't come back. Hiding in the subtropical forests in the remote Garo hills of northeast India is the Mande Barang, said to be a terrifying half-human, half-ape hybrid that's been stalking the jungles for centuries, if not more. It stands at around 6 feet tall, with long arms that drag almost to the ground, and its face looks like a cross between a human and an ape. They're said to be clever. Locals say that the Mande Barang aren't just beasts, they know how to set traps and ambush humans in the jungle. When you're alone and vulnerable, that's when they strike. People who've encountered them say they've been stalked by these creatures for days, hearing heavy footsteps but never seeing their stalker. Some even claim to have had close encounters. One tourist said he looked up to find one watching him from a tree, its glowing eyes staring down with what almost seemed like curiosity. And that's the real horror. You're not just dealing with an animal, but something that's aware of you, studying you like a predator. In the jungles of Mexico, there's said to be a creature called the Tzitzimime. They are these skeletal, zombie-looking creatures with elongated limbs. They're often described as having pale skin, long hair, and glowing red eyes. These things are full-on death spirits. The Tzitzimime are believed to be manifestations of death and chaos, and they only appear during solar eclipses. During these times, the creatures supposedly descend from the sky, emerging from the jungles and hunting down anyone unlucky enough to be caught in their path. Legends say they're relentless, stalking their victims in the jungle with terrifying speed, but what's even worse is that they don't just kill you, they're said to bring disastrous events like floods, storms, and other natural disasters following them wherever they go. Now, this last one is going to sound pretty generic at first, but it's actually pretty terrifying. If you're at all creeped out by the idea of Bigfoot, well, Bigfoot's got nothing compared to the Gugwe, a creature said to stalk the deep forests of Canada and the Pacific Northwest. It's hairy, stands over 8 feet tall, and has a vaguely humanish face, but the big difference is it's got a canine snout, almost making it look like a werewolf or baboon type creature, but like an ape werewolf. And it's just as aggressive as it looks. People who've seen it don't usually get a good feeling. This cryptid doesn't hide or run off when it's spotted. It gets hostile. It growls, which you'd probably expect, but it also is said to do something really creepy. Mimic human voices, luring people deep into the woods. Native American tribes are terrified of the Gugwe, and reports of it go all the way back to the early 1900s. Probably longer, but in terms of written records, that's when. In 1995, a guy was taking photos at 7 shoots in Quebec, and when he looked back at the pictures, he noticed something strange in one shot. This. Now, the image is blurry, sure, but I would not want to be anywhere near whatever that thing is, because that kinda looks like a Gugwe to me. Deep in the jungles of northern Guatemala is El Mirador, an ancient city-state that was once home to over 1 million people. El Mirador is huge. It's one of the largest and oldest Maya cities. What's really cool about it, though, are the roads. There's a 150-mile network of ancient highways. They were rediscovered in 1967 by British explorer Ian Graham, who published a map of the site. Then in 2006, researchers used lasers to scan the Mirador Basin from the sky, and they were able to create 3D images that showed this system of roads, pyramids, and canals. The highways themselves were massive, with raised causeways 20 feet high. What's wild is that these roads were built between 600 BCE and 100 CE. They would have helped move supplies and people across this vast city. These ancient roads are part of what make El Mirador one of the most sophisticated ancient civilizations in the Americas. What you're looking at here is the mysterious Monk's Mound in Illinois, part of the Cahokia Mounds. The mounds were part of an ancient city, home to the Mississippian people between 1050 and 1350 CE. Cahokia once had a population of 15,000 to 20,000 people, and it was a marvel of engineering and planning. The site now contains about 80 mounds, but the original city had around 120. The mounds were used for everything from ceremonial purposes to housing elite rulers. The most famous mound, Monk's Mound, is the largest in North America, standing 10 stories tall and covering 14 acres. Pretty bizarre, you have an ancient pyramid right in the middle of Illinois. Cahokia was the largest pre-Columbian city north of Mexico and one of the most complex archaeological sites in the US. The city's original name has unfortunately been lost to time, but the mounds were named after the Cahokia tribe, a group that lived nearby when French explorers arrived in the 17th century. Uxmal on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico is one of the most important cities of the Maya civilization. It's a site full of massive structures, but one of the standouts here is the Pyramid of the Magician, also called the House of the Dwarf. Legend has it that a dwarf, who hatched from an egg, built the pyramid in a single night. In reality, the pyramid was built in the 6th century, but it's still an impressive feat, standing 115 feet tall. The pyramid is the largest building in Uxmal, with 5 levels and multiple temples inside. The Maya often built new structures on top of older ones, and Temple 4, one of the top temples in the pyramid, has 12 stone masks around its doorway, thought to represent Chak, the rain god. The governor's palace, another giant structure, covers over 12,000 square feet. You'll also find ancient roads that connect Uxmal to other Maya cities like Tikal and even Caracol in Belize. Today, Uxmal is an UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's easy to see why. Chichen Itza is one of the most famous and impressive ancient Maya cities, located in the heart of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula once again. At one time, it was a busy place full of religious ceremonies, politics, and trade. At its peak, it was home to around 35,000 people. It was built in a perfect spot near a bunch of natural sinkholes that provided plenty of water. In fact, the name Chichen Itza comes from the Mayan words chi, mouth, chen, wells, and Itza, which was the name of the Mayan tribe who settled there at the time. Chichen Itza was founded in the 6th century, but it really reached its height during the 10th century when it was influenced by the Toltec people from central Mexico. One of the most famous buildings here is El Castillo, the pyramid at the center of the site. At 79 feet tall, it has 365 steps, one for each day of the year, and during the spring and autumn equinoxes, the shadows create this illusion of a serpent slithering down the stairs. Machu Picchu is one of the most iconic ancient structures in the entire world, sitting high in the Peruvian Andes and nearly 8,000 feet above sea level. It's a 15th century Inca citadel, often called the Lost City of the Incas, and for good reason. It was mostly hidden from the outside world until 1911, when American historian Hiram Bingham rediscovered it. The site is mind-blowing to say the least. It was built in the classical Inca style with perfectly fitted dry stone walls, and its 3 main structures, the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the 3 Windows, and the Intihuatana, are still standing. The Inca never wrote anything down though, so no one really knows exactly what Machu Picchu was for. The leading theory is that it was a private retreat for the Inca emperor, but built around 1450. Some archaeologists think it was more of a royal estate, but we still don't really know. Machu Picchu was abandoned by the Inca around 100 years later, just before the Spanish conquest. The Brazilian wandering spider is one of the deadliest spiders in the world. Its venom can cause excruciating pain, and in some cases it's even fatal. But what really sets this spider apart is its style of hunting. Most spiders wait around in their webs for their prey to come to them, but the Brazilian wandering spider actually goes out and looks for its food. They're nocturnal, so at night they roam the jungle chasing down insects, amphibians, and even small mammals like mice. They're big, hairy, and incredibly fast. They'll often sprint after their prey and then pounce on it. If you're camping in the jungle, you might end up with one of these things crawling into your tent. The harpy eagle. This is one of the most terrifying but impressive birds of prey in the world. These things are massive, with a wingspan that can stretch up to 7 feet. They have the biggest talons of any living eagle, some as long as 5 inches, big enough to snatch up sloths and monkeys right out of the trees, which is mostly what they hunt. They're not the type to sit and wait like some birds of prey. Harpy eagles actively roam the jungle in search of their food, often swooping down from a perch to grab their prey. Their preferred hunting ground is the dense lowland rainforests of Central and South America, where they stalk the treetops. They're strong enough to pick up prey that weighs about half their own body weight. And when hunting, they'll grab their prey with those massive talons, fly off with them, and bring them back to their nest. Next up is the satanic leaf-tailed gecko. That's right, we have a gecko spawned from the fiery pits of hell. Forget that gecko from those car insurance commercials. These things look like they were forged from magma. It gets its nickname for a reason. I mean, look at it. Its body is shaped like a dead leaf, and it has a tail that looks like it's been chewed up and spat out. And this is no accident. The gecko's appearance is a way of blending in with the forest environment of Madagascar. And this gecko has the ability to change color. It's not like a chameleon that shifts through a rainbow of colors, but more like it can match the color and pattern of its immediate surroundings. Again, this helps the gecko avoid being someone else's lunch. Also, those eyes. They're huge, reddish orange, and have vertical pupils, super devilish looking. And I love when these things go all red and like lava looking. Really cool. Their eyes are also adapted for low light conditions, helping these geckos hunt for insects in the dimly lit forests. Next up, we have eye-eyes. These things look like creatures you'd see on whatever planet the Greys come from. Just very creepy and alien looking. Eye-eyes are some weird creatures. They're lemurs, but not really the cute fluffy ones that you typically think of. These guys look like they've been pieced together from various different animals. They're just really mangy looking. I don't know, some people might find these cute. I just don't. They have big eyes and bushy tails, which sounds pleasant enough, but their most distinctive feature is their freakishly long, thin fingers. Again, very alien looking. Their middle finger is especially elongated, which is kind of awesome, but they use it for tapping on tree bark to find grubs and insects hiding underneath. There's also a myth that they're a harbinger of bad luck. Some folks in Madagascar, where eye-eyes are again found, believe these creatures are omens of doom, and some think that if an eye-eye points its long, bony finger at you, bad luck is coming your way. Finally, we have Darwin's bark spider. Darwin's bark spider, a small arachnid also native to Madagascar, builds incredible webs. While the spider itself is quite small, its webs are absolutely colossal, sometimes spanning rivers. And they're sturdy too. If you come across one without knowing anything about these spiders, you'd probably think Shelob was stalking the forest. The silk they produce to build their webs is incredibly strong. In fact, it's approximately 10 times stronger than Kevlar. The females, which are bigger than the males, build webs that can sometimes measure around 80 feet across. The strength and size of their webs allows them to capture not only small insects, but also larger prey. Webs are often found with upwards of 30 prey insects caught in them. The Nukak are one of the last nomadic peoples left in Colombia, living between dense rainforest and armed conflict zones. They were only officially discovered in the 80s, and right away it became clear their world is nothing like the one we know. They still use blowguns, they travel in these small bands, they speak a language called Nukak. It's a tonal language, so this is really cool. It means that a tiny change in pitch can totally flip the meaning of a word, so even if someone tried to guess at it, they'd probably get it completely wrong. Some linguists who worked with recently settled Nukak have managed to write down basic phrases and grammar rules, but the people still living nomadically, that version of the language could be wildly different. Because of guerrilla fighting, logging, and coca farms moving in, a lot of these communities ended up scattered. Some groups managed to hang on to the way they've always spoken, but others, especially the ones near towns, have started to lose it. So now the language is kind of split off into different versions, and some of those aren't even spoken anywhere else. If you ran into someone deep in the forest speaking the old version, there's a pretty good chance even the Nukak wouldn't fully understand it. The Togatil live in the rainforests of Halmahera, one of Indonesia's lesser-known islands. Most people haven't heard of the island, let alone the people living in the forests there. They built shelters from palm and bamboo, they hunt with bows, they keep their distance from just about everyone, including including other nearby tribes. They speak a language that's believed to be a branch of Tobolo, which is used by people on the coast. But the Togoto version has taken on a life of its own. There are two main groups of Togoto, one that occasionally interacts with nearby villagers and one that doesn't. The group that still lives deep in the forest speaks a version of the language that's barely heard by outsiders. Linguists know about Tobolo and they've studied parts of it, but the forest version spoken by these isolated families hasn't been recorded. The Yaifo live way out in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, in a spot so remote that just getting there is a whole mission on its own. British explorer Benedict Allen was the first outsider to reach them in 1988. He was still a student at the time, and he wrote that they displayed a, quote, terrifying show of strength and did a dance where they showed off their bows and arrows. But what he saw stuck with him for decades, and in 2017, he tried to go back, alone, and he ended up being missing for weeks. He eventually did make it out, he was fine, but he still didn't get close to the tribe. That's how hard they are to reach. No one's really studied their language, but it's thought to be a dialect of something called Neti, or Neet, which is one of hundreds of languages spoken across Papua New Guinea. Even neighboring tribes barely understand each other, so you can only imagine how far off the grid the Yaifo dialect must be. In the forests of the Gran Chaco, Aoreo have managed to avoid being pulled into the modern world. They move in small family groups, setting up temporary shelters, hunting with traditional tools, and steering clear of the ranchers bulldozing their forest. Most Aoreo today live in settled communities and speak a version of the Aoreo language that linguists have studied a little bit. But the Toto Biego Sode are different. They're a subgroup of the Aoreo, and their version of language hasn't been documented nearly as well. Even other Aoreo say they can barely understand them. Researchers haven't been able to spend time with them without disrupting their lives or putting them at risk. Some people have tried. There are a few aerial photos, footprints, and abandoned camps have been found, but the language itself, no one's ever sat and listened, let alone recorded a conversation. In the rainforest of eastern Ecuador, there are still a few Huaorani clans living completely off the grid. Most Huaorani people have made some contact with the outside world over the years, and their language has been studied a little, but some of these isolated families haven't spoken to outsiders in decades. And even other Huaorani say they can't fully understand what they're saying anymore. Huaorani is already a rare language. It doesn't belong to any known language family. It's what linguists call an isolate, meaning it has no relatives. And that makes any offshoot version of it even more mysterious. These isolated clans broke off in the 60s, and they never came back. And it's not just pronunciation that's changed. When languages evolve in isolation, they can shift in really big ways. Word meanings change, new phrases pop up, old ones disappear. So while technically it might still be Huaorani, what these families are speaking out in the jungle could be totally unrecognizable to anyone else.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Mount Lyco rainforest. No one expected to stumble across an entirely uncharted rainforest in the modern world, yet that's exactly what happened in 2012 when a butterfly expert named Dr. Julian Bayliss spotted something unbelievable. A lush, untouched jungle hidden inside a crater high atop a mountain in Mozambique. This was not some ancient explorer's tale, it was confirmed by Google Earth images and later by a team of 28 researchers who braved treacherous cliffs, dense foliage, and dizzying heights to reach the isolated forest known as Mount Lyco. Once there, the mysteries just kept piling up. They identified never-before-seen species, including a brand new butterfly christened in honor of the mountain itself. Even more baffling were the signs of past human presence. Scattered clay pots suggesting that long-lost communities had somehow found their way up this impossible terrain. No one knows who they were or how they got there, leaving scientists with more questions than answers about this remarkable green world in the sky. Next, we are talking about the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull. Famous for making seasoned archaeologists scratch their heads in disbelief, the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, discovered at the ruined Maya city of Lubantan in Belize's steamy rainforest, isn't just an artifact. It's a riddle carved in stone. known. Unearthed in the 1920s, this flawless human skull was reportedly shaped from a single piece of pure quartz, a feat that seems impossible without advanced tools. Even today, experts armed with modern technology struggle to explain how anyone managed such precision centuries ago. Adding more fuel to the mystery, its backstory is plagued by disputes over who truly found it and when, while whispers of lost civilizations, secret rituals, and supernatural powers swirl around its legend. Scientists have tried scanning, testing, and replicating it, only to admit that the skull's creation and purpose remain unexplainable. In other words, a clear crystal curiosity that refuses to give up its secrets right in the heart of the jungle. Next, we are talking about the giant stone head of the Guatemalan jungle. Few jungle legends leave archaeologists more infuriated than the whispered tale of that colossal stone head supposedly lurking in the Guatemalan rainforest back in the 1950s. There is just one photograph, and it shows a face with strikingly European-like features, nothing like the typical Mesoamerican styles known in that part of the world. What's worse, the carving was allegedly discovered far from any known site, as if whoever made it purposely hid it from prying eyes. Then, before anyone credible could study the mysterious sculpture, guerrilla fighters reportedly blew it to pieces, taking its secrets to the grave. Now all that's left is a single blurry image and a swarm of unanswered questions. Did a forgotten civilization craft it with some lost technique? Was it a hoax? Or did it represent some outsider's influence that never made it into the textbooks? Whatever the truth may be, that vanished stone head remains one of the jungle's most maddening riddles. In our number 7 spot today, we are talking about the case of the missing birds. The sounds of birds once echoed through every corner of Panama's Barrow, Colorado island, with more than 200 bird species nesting above the dense forest floor. Today, a quarter of them are simply gone, and despite decades of research, nobody truly knows why. When the Panama Canal was completed in 1914, Gatun Lake's waters swelled and transformed the landscape, strangling old ecosystems and supposedly clearing out top predators. Without them, ecologists suspected monkeys and coati populations exploded, plundering bird nests and crippling the avian population. That neat little theory, however, didn't hold up under scrutiny. In the 1990s, when ecologist Douglas Robinson set up video surveillance, he caught a surprising culprit red-handed: snakes slithering into nests and devouring eggs. But if snakes alone were doing the damage, why did more than 45 species disappear by 2000? There's some hidden factors at work here, and decades later, researchers are still stumped.
The Gaboon viper is a snake found in the jungles of Africa. They can grow pretty large, up to 6 feet long, and they're built to blend in with their surroundings. Its pattern looks almost like dead leaves or tree bark, so it's nearly impossible to spot unless you're looking carefully. But when it feels threatened, it strikes fast, and their fangs can grow up to 2 inches long. The venom is highly toxic, causing rapid, painful swelling, intense pain, and possibly severe shock. The area around the bite can blister up, you might see bruising. In more serious cases, the venom messes with your entire body, can cause uncoordinated movement, make you lose control of your bladder or bowels, and cause your tongue and eyelids to swell up. Eventually, it'll lead to convulsions, loss of consciousness, your BLOOD might stop clotting. If the bite's bad enough, doctors might need to surgically remove tissue or even take off an entire limb. You get the point. This can all get pretty life-threatening. Even after being treated, healing takes time, and there have been cases where people have died during recovery. And a lot of bites occur because people will just accidentally step on these things. That's how well camouflaged they are. Plus, they move quietly. They don't rattle or hiss before they attack. They just sit there waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Goliath bird eater is this massive tarantula found in the rainforests of northern South America, like Brazil and Venezuela. It's the largest spider in the world by weight and size, and its leg span can reach up to 12 inches or 30 centimeters. They spend most of their time in burrows, only coming out at night to hunt. You'll mostly find them in the Amazon rainforest, hiding in marshy, swampy areas. In terms of what they eat, well, you'd guess it's birds, based on the name, and yeah, they'll eat a bird if they feel like it, but birds don't make up the bulk of their diet. The fact that they can, though, is just horrifying. They'll mostly eat large insects, frogs, and small reptiles. How they eat is also super icky though. A bird eater will drag its prey back to its burrow and then suck out all its liquids, kind of like a chupacabra. And when threatened, the Goliath bird eater gets defensive. It'll rub its legs and abdomen to release tiny hairs that'll irritate your skin and mucous membranes. It can also bite. Thankfully their venom isn't deadly to humans, but it is painful, a bit like a wasp sting in terms of pain. But who cares about the venom? We're talking about a 12-inch spider. If that doesn't give you the ick, I'm really not sure what will. A giant African land snail is a pretty incredible looking animal. They really live up to the giant title. I mean, look at these things. For a snail, that is downright terrifying, but these creatures aren't as exotic as you'd think they are, at least not now. Originally in the jungles of Africa, these snails have been causing a lot of trouble around the world as an invasive species. They're found in urban areas and agricultural land nowadays, where they wreak havoc on crops and spread disease. They like to hide during the day, typically in shady spots like leaf piles or tree trunks. They're most at home in warmer, humid environments, but they can tolerate a wide range of temperatures too, even freezing cold. They can also survive without food or water for long stretches of time by sealing themselves in their shells. And this adaptability makes them pretty dangerous when you consider the fact that they carry a parasite that can cause a dangerous form of meningitis in humans. If you eat one of these things raw or even touch one, at times you could get infected, and this parasite can be life-threatening. These giant snails also transmit plant diseases, so farmers absolutely hate these things. There have been times when flamethrowers have had to be used to try and eradicate them. Bullet ants, found in the rainforests of South America, aren't just any ordinary ants. These things are known for having the most powerful sting in the insect world. The pain is said to feel quite literally like being shot, and the pain lasts for hours. Some will even say up to 24 hours. And during that time, it's almost impossible to think about anything else. I would probably rather die than go through that. It's so bad that people have described it as feeling like fire walking over your skin. Bullet ants are pretty large too, about the size of your pinky. And they aren't shy creatures. They're super aggressive and territorial, so if you get too close to their colony, expect to feel the full brunt of their sting. Their sting is so notorious that some Amazonian tribes will use them for initiation rituals. Young men will wear these gloves filled with these ants, and the gloves are left on for usually about 10 minutes, and they're just bitten repeatedly. Next up, we have bull sharks. Yes, these sharks are often found in the Amazon River as well. They're known for being one of the most dangerous sharks in the world. They're aggressive, territorial, and they can live in both saltwater and freshwater. This means they can be found in places like the Amazon River, where they lurk in murky water, often coming pretty close to the shore. These sharks will eat pretty much anything. They'll go after fish, birds, river dolphins, and mammals, humans included. They're big too. Female bull sharks can reach about 8 feet long and weigh over 290 pounds, while males are a little smaller. But there are rare cases of bull sharks getting even bigger, hitting up to 13 feet. On top of that, they're pretty bulky, with a body shape that makes them heavier than other sharks of similar length. And not only are these sharks one of the 3 shark species most likely to attack humans, they also have an insanely powerful bite. Their jaw pressure can reach up to 1,330 pounds of force, which pound for pound is said to be the strongest bite of any shark species. To put it simply, they can just crush almost anything with their teeth.
Next, we are talking about the hidden German hideout. Few discoveries spark as much speculation as the deserted stone buildings hidden deep in Argentina's remote rainforest, a place where decades-old rumors speak of war criminals escaping justice and entire hideouts awaiting their arrival. Researchers, led by Daniel Chevelzon, recently unearthed 3 mysterious, time-worn structures surrounded by dense vegetation near the Paraguayan border, an area so inaccessible and carefully chosen that it practically screamed secret refuge. Inside, they found old German coins dating back from 1938 to 1944, bits of porcelain marked Made in Germany, and carvings that hinted at a disturbing past. Historians know that as World War II ended, many high-ranking high-ranking figures from a defeated European regime fled to South America, supported by a network of underground escape routes called rat lines. The plan, it seems, was to stash leaders in safe havens tucked far from prying eyes, and this hidden compound had all the hallmarks of a last resort bolt hole. What's truly puzzling is that the structures appear to have seen little, if any, use. Instead, they've been left to collapse into the jungle, their presence haunting anyone who dares to question how far desperate men would go to vanish into the green, and why this forgotten fortress still stands as an eerie monument to secrets that history has yet to fully expose. At our number 5 spot today, we have the mysterious Amazon rings. Archaeologists still can't wrap their heads around the strange ring-shaped ditches carved deep into the earth of the Amazon long before it grew into the lush jungle we know today. These ancient earthworks predate the rainforest itself, challenging everything we once assumed about when and how this land took shape. Some experts think the rings might have served as defense perimeters, while others suggest they could have been sophisticated irrigation systems or even sacred ceremonial sites. Whatever the truth, these odd formations don't just spark curiosity, they flip the script on the long-held idea that the Amazon was untouched wilderness until Europeans arrived. In our number 4 spot today, we have the lost city of giants in Ecuador. Few discoveries rattle our understanding of the past more than what explorers claimed to find deep in the Ecuadorian jungle a little over a decade ago. Led by native guides, a group of adventurers stumbled upon crumbling ruins that looked like something out of a lost age. Towering stone blocks and what appeared to be a colossal pyramid, roughly 260 feet tall and 260 feet wide, dwarfing even today's skyscraper cranes. Scattered around were impossibly large tools, so oversized that no ordinary human could ever wield them. Local legends have long whispered of giants who once strode through these lands, shaping entire cities as if playing with toy blocks. This find, dubbed the Lost City of Giants, isn't just another wild story. It's a baffling historical detour, leaving researchers scratching their heads over who or what could have built these monuments and why no written records hint at their time on Earth. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Sri Lanka alien meteorite. No one expected a rock dropping into a Sri Lankan jungle to stir up the possibility of life beyond Earth, yet when scientists in the UK analyzed a meteorite that crash-landed there, they found something that upended assumptions. Inside were what looked like fossils and algae, tiny structures that just might point to alien origins. If that's true, it would mean that we're not alone in this universe and that life can hitch rides on cosmic debris, quietly traveling through the void before planting itself on new worlds. Naturally, not everyone is buying it. Skeptics argue that these so-called alien organisms are actually just common freshwater species, probably picked up after the meteorite made landfall. Did Earth's environment contaminate the sample, or are we staring at actual evidence that life can emerge from interstellar darkness? In our number 2 spot today, we have the Maya network discovered under Guatemala. No one expected to lift the veil on an ancient world hidden just beneath the treetops, but in 2018, cutting-edge laser surveys exposed a staggering secret in Guatemala's northern Petén region. More than 60,000 Maya ruins suddenly came into focus. Temples, pyramids, causeways, and residential areas scattered over 810 square miles of dense, leafy rainforest. Even seasoned archaeologists were completely floored. This kind of urban sprawl suggested a once thriving empire of millions, far larger than textbooks had ever hinted. The site lay tantalizingly close to known Maya cities, but these revelations reshaped the map, forcing experts to rethink just how far the Maya had spread and how deeply they influenced their lush homeland. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the man-made rainforest. Not so long ago, ecologists would have bet their reputations that rainforests take eons to form. Yet, on a remote volcanic outpost called Ascension Island, a thriving jungle proved them wrong in record time. In just 150 years, a once barren landscape has given way to a dense green canopy, all thanks to a ragtag assortment of plant seeds dropped off by by the British Royal Navy in 1843. Back then, Charles Darwin himself described the island as completely devoid of trees, so seeing it now, alive with towering flora and bustling wildlife, has turned ecological theory on its head. How did these foreign species team up to create something so complex so quickly? Scientists are still scrambling for answers, admitting that this unexpected explosion of life raises big questions about how ecosystems form and adapt. It's a living, breathing reminder that nature can break the rules we thought we knew.
Vilcabamba in Peru, often called the lost city of the Incas as well, was the final stronghold of the Inca Empire. It was the capital of the Neo-Inca state from 1539 until its fall in 1572. It was the last base of Incan resistance against Spanish invaders. The city's remote jungle location made it nearly impossible for the Spanish to reach, allowing the Incas to hold out for decades here. Its ruins were hidden for centuries. In 1911, explorer Hiram Bingham mistakenly identified Machu Picchu as Vilcabamba, but years later explorers, including Jean Savoy in the 60s, found that the real site was actually this one here. For decades, the Spanish struggled to locate the city, with one chronicler writing, "Great resources are needed to undertake a penetration of that land." But the city was finally captured in 1572, leading to the execution of the last Inca monarch. Yaxchilan is an ancient Mayan city found deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, along the Usumacinta River. It was one of the most powerful cities in the Maya world between the 4th and 9th centuries. The city is probably most famous for its huge acropolis, a collection of buildings that includes temples, palaces, and ceremonial areas. The site is also packed with all these incredible reliefs that tell us quite a bit about the Maya life, their gods, and the rituals that they would have performed. Yaxchilan's remote location helped it stay hidden for centuries, and it wasn't until the 19th century that explorers started to rediscover it. One of the coolest things about this place is how the jungle has slowly started reclaiming the city, giving it this kind of lost feel to it. And next on the list we have geoglyphs. In the Amazon rainforest, large-scale geoglyphs, which are these ancient formations created by removing topsoil, have been discovered over the years. They're basically these colossal drawings carved into the earth, some stretching over 600 feet. They're in all kinds of shapes, circles, squares, some depict animals even. And researchers believe these geoglyphs were constructed between 2,000 and 6,500 years ago by indigenous tribes. As to their purpose though, that's still mostly a mystery. There are theories. Maybe they are used for ceremonial or religious practices, or maybe they had a more practical function like water management or defense, but the sheer scale of these things and the effort it would have required to create them definitely raises a lot of questions about what these tribes were capable of. Calakmul is an ancient Maya city deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, in the Yucatan Peninsula once again, and it was one of the largest and most powerful Maya cities, especially during the Classic period, around 600 to 700 CE. Found near the Guatemalan border, Calakmul was a major player in the Maya world, often locked in competition with other city-states like Tikal, which we covered in part 1, so check that out if you haven't already. The city is massive, covering more than 70 square kilometers, but it's most famous for its massive pyramids. The largest pyramid, known as Structure 1, stands over 145 feet tall and is one of the tallest Maya pyramids ever discovered. It's so big that it even dwarfs other pyramids in the region. Teotihuacan is one of the most impressive and mysterious ancient cities in Mesoamerica, sitting just 25 miles northeast of modern Mexico City. At its peak, it was the largest city in the Americas, with a population that could have reached up to 125,000 people, making it one of the world's biggest cities during its time. The city is famous for its massive pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. These monuments are massive, the Pyramid of the Sun standing at 200 feet high, making it one of the largest pyramids in the world. But Teotihuacan has more than just those giant stone structures. It also had a sophisticated layout with multi-family apartment complexes, wide avenues, and intricate murals that now give us a glimpse into the daily life of the people who once lived there. And the place had a lot of influence on places surrounding it too. The city's obsidian tools were highly prized across Mesoamerica, and evidence of its presence has been found as far away as the Maya region. Its cultural impact was huge. The later Aztecs even saw Teotihuacan as their spiritual ancestors, and adopted some aspects of their culture into their own. Teotihuacan was established around 100 BCE, but mysteriously collapsed in the 6th century. Forget what you thought you knew about the ancient Amazon. For ages, people pictured these small wandering groups living there, but that wasn't really the case. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, for example, archaeologists have basically pulled back the curtain on a massive interconnected network of ancient cities. They cover over 100 square miles with thousands of rectangular platforms that were likely homes and ceremonial spots. What's even wilder is how they found it, though. Researchers used this super cool technology called LiDAR, which shoots laser pulses from an airplane right through the dense jungle canopy. It's like X-ray vision, but for the forest. And with it, researchers have found these grids of roads and paths with canals connecting them. Some roads stretch an amazing 16 miles. This tells us that people were seriously organized and had some impressive knowledge of engineering. They built a complex urban society, possibly home to tens, even hundreds of thousands of people, growing corn and sweet potatoes, probably brewing chicha. It completely flips our understanding of ancient Amazonian life. Imagine flying over the Amazon and spotting these enormous geometric shapes carved right into the ground. That's exactly what started happening in the 70s in Brazil's Acre State as parts of the forest were being cleared for farming. These incredible carvings are called geoglyphs, and they're massive patterns ancient Amazonian people created by digging deep trenches. You have perfect circles, squares, rectangles, some of them stretching over 980 feet wide and up to 13 feet deep. There are hundreds of these formations spread across more than 300 archaeological sites in Acre alone. Archaeologists think these geoglyphs date back as far as 1000 BCE. As for exactly what they were for, that's still a bit of a mystery. Some think they were gathering places for ceremonies. They may have also been used for defense though, a bit like trenches, but that's just an idea. What's nuts is that these ancient groups transformed the landscape on such a massive scale without any metal tools. They only used stone tools to dig these things. Right at the mouth of the Amazon River, there's a huge island called Marajo. For a long time, researchers knew about some intricate pottery found there, but then there was the discovery that ancient people on the island built these massive dirt mounds. The culture known as the Marajoara were living there from about 400 to 1600 CE. These were deliberately constructed mounds. Some were gigantic, reaching heights of 60 feet. That's like a 6-story building made of dirt. They built their villages right on top of these mounds, probably trying to stay safe, dry during floods. Inside and around these mounds, archaeologists have found detailed pottery, burial sites, and clear signs that there was farming going on. They were growing crops like maize and a starchy root vegetable called manioc. These all point to a highly organized society that mastered living in a very challenging environment for over 1,000 years. Alright, so this next one is super cool because it doesn't have to do with buildings, but about the very soil itself. Soil ancient people actually made. It's called terra preta, which simply means black soil in Portuguese, and you find it in patches all over the Amazon basin. What makes it so special is that it's incredibly rich, dark, sometimes several feet deep, and way more fertile than the natural reddish Amazonian soil. Scientists have figured out that ancient Amazonians created this soil on purpose. They mixed things like charcoal, broken pottery pieces, plant waste, and animal bones into the regular dirt. This created a super rich, self-sustaining soil that stayed fertile for centuries, sometimes even thousands of years. It's estimated that up to 10% of the non-flooded Amazon land might be this material. This was a major discovery because it proved these ancient groups weren't just living in the Amazon, that they were actively reshaping their environment. It's pretty cool. This one sort of blends ancient legends with modern day exploration. I'm talking about the ongoing search for Patiti, and for centuries explorers and a good number of treasure hunters have been obsessed with finding this supposed massive Inca city, hidden deep in the Amazon jungle, just east of the Andes Mountains. There are historical accounts from Spanish conquistadors who said they heard of this secret city where Inca nobles supposedly fled with their gold and treasures after the Spanish arrived. Now, we haven't found a single city of gold like in the movies yet, but recent archaeological work and satellite images are pointing to something out there. For example, in 2007, researchers found a bunch of ancient structures, things like ceremonial platforms and old homes in super remote parts of southeastern Peru, exactly where many believe Patiti could be. And there are still places being discovered under the thick canopy of trees all the time. By archaeology standards, anyway. I don't mean like literally every day. Point is, the Amazon is so massive, who knows what else could be hiding out there. Maybe there's some truth to this legend. The Amazon rings. These are a series of strange ring-shaped ditches scattered throughout the rainforest, and no one really knows what they are or why they exist. The rings are ancient though, way older than the rainforest itself. Some archaeologists think the rings were used as burial grounds or maybe even as a form of defense, but there's no solid proof to back either story. It's all just guesswork. Alright, so you know what I'm gonna say next? Let's just get right to it. Some people think they were left by aliens. The idea is that the rings could have been caused by spaceships landing long before the rainforest grew over them. It's a pretty far out theory, obviously, but given that we still can't explain these rings, it's one that people keep tossing around. What makes the Amazon rings even more mysterious is that no one can figure out how ancient people would have managed to make them. The tools that would have been needed to carve out such precise shapes just doesn't seem to have existed back then. It's almost like these rings just appeared out of nowhere. So yeah, maybe they were made by some lost civilization or something else entirely. Alright, back to some big hairy ape guys, the Miracoxi. This is basically the South American version of Bigfoot creatures. These creatures are said to be massive, ape-like beings that can grow up to 12 feet tall. Imagine walking through the jungle and coming in contact with something that huge. Horrifying. And while they look pretty primitive, they're actually supposed to be pretty smart. They're said to use bows and arrows, and some reports claim they even live in villages. One of the most famous encounters with the creatures came from Colonel Percival H. Fawcett, a British explorer who was mapping out the jungles of South America back in 1914. Fawcett claimed that he came across these creatures north of a tribe called the Maxubi. He described them as big, super hairy, living in the wild and grunting instead of talking. He also said they were extremely hostile toward humans. In his book Lost Trails, Lost Cities, Fawcett tells the story of how he and his crew got really close to these creatures and things almost got violent. The creatures were about to attack, but Fawcett and his men managed to scare them off by shooting their firearms into the ground. But in 1925, Fawcett and his entire expedition vanished without a trace while trying to find the lost city of Z. Some think they were killed by local tribes, others think they might have just starved or got lost, eaten by animals, but there's also a theory that they were killed by the Miracoxi. Next up, we have the Boiling River. The Boiling River, also known as Chane Timpishka, is a very hot river found in the Amazon rainforest in Peru. It's not the type of river you're going to want to take a dip in because the water can get really hot. Not sauna hot, I mean boiling hot. A hot cup of tea kind of hot. This river is about 4 miles long, and in some parts the water temperature can reach up to nearly 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. You can boil an egg in this river, and I'm not exaggerating. The YouTube channel Nas Daily actually posted a video trying that exact thing. So exactly what is going on here? Well, scientists think it has something to do with geothermal activity deep down in the earth. There might be some hot rocks or something heating up the water before it bubbles to the surface. That's my version of just explaining that science. I'm sure there's much more to it than that. But local shamans also have legends about an entity known as Yakumama, a giant serpent spirit known as the mother of the waters that causes the water to boil. In 2012, deep in the jungles of Ecuador, explorers discovered the remains of what looked like a lost city. It became known as the Lost City of Giants. A group of explorers, along with a few locals who knew the area well, set out to find it, and according to them, the city had always been a legend passed down through generations. When they finally arrived, they found something truly bizarre. Massive, towering structures. The biggest of these was a pyramid that stood an insane 79 meters or 260 feet tall. It had a weird shape as well that set it apart from anything the explorers had ever seen. At the top of the pyramid was this flat, polished stone, which the locals believed was a sacrificial altar. The sheer size of the buildings led a lot of people to believe that this city could have only been built by giants. Archaeologists who visit the site have some mixed opinions, though. Some are convinced that the giants might have been involved. Others just don't really buy it, but it gets weirder though. Along with the structures, the explorers found oversized tools and artifacts. The tools were so big that according to the team, there's no way a regular human could have used them.
List at number 10, mystery spider. Yeah, for this first one, we're not even sure what kind of spider it is. How calming is that? Let's do it. Some kind of spider is making what's referred to as silkhenge. Yeah, this piece of spider art was first discovered back in 2013 by Troy Alexander, who posted a photo of it on the internet, asking for help in identifying what exactly he's looking at, but no one could help identify it because it's a totally unknown phenomenon. These structures are created by spiders or some sort of spider to help with reproduction because they're protecting their eggs. It looks quite alien, but this is all just to protect little baby spiders in that middle tip. There's one main spire that's constructed of spider silk, and that's where the eggs are contained, and then surrounding that spire is a sort of a circular fence that is also made of spider silk. Similar appearance to Stonehenge, hence the name Silkhenge. But to this day, we haven't found much. This was discovered back in 2013, and only a year ago, we got more information. Tropical science communicator Phil Torres recently visited Peru, and he got footage in 4K. It's beautiful. We no longer have to slide through the same 3 grainy photos. Check this out. Torres explains how this research has affected his well-being. Obviously, he said it's the thing that keeps him up at night because it's so annoyingly hard to find. Despite having seen it in so many places he goes, the next time it's like it was never there at all. Yeah, that's frustrating. It's also tiny too. In this recent clip, it's beautiful. Again, high definition. You can really see how intricate the work is, but Torres also discovered that these things are tiny and they come in clusters. So if you find one, there's probably a few nearby. Also, don't destroy it. We still have no idea who or what's making these silkhenges, so take some photos, hang out a bit, do some research. Number 9, the Brazilian wandering spider. Its bite can give you an erection that lasts for hours. That's a real fact, and that's how I'm going to start this point here. This animal is dangerous. Its bite, of course, will hurt you. You'll be sweating, blood pressure will increase, hence that side effect. They're more commonly known as banana spiders, so guess I can't eat bananas anymore. There goes my favorite snack. These little guys have been listed as the world's most venomous spider in a handful of years in the Guinness Book of World Records. We love records, record-breaking spiders. If its name didn't already tip you off, these things can be found in Brazil. There's 8 different kinds of wandering spiders. Avoid them all. That's my advice here on MA 10. That's it. How does that sound? Boom. Science is quite interesting here. They're trying to create the next Viagra using the spider's venom. That's why I started with that wild side effect. There's always a point to it. I'm not just being silly all the time. The future is here, friends, and apparently it's filled with spiders. Just cuts to a bunch of old dudes in the woods just hanging out like, please. Number 8. Bullet ants. They're called bullet ants because their bite feels like a bullet wound. Promising start. Awesome. They're also referred to as the Paraponera clavata, but that sounds like a dark curse in Harry Potter, so we're going to call them the bullet ant for now. They're commonly found in tropical rainforests in Central and South America. Their sting is considered, the most powerful in the world, hence the bullet thing, and its effects can last 24 hours. Yeah, another fun nickname for them is a 24-hour ant. They're also the world's largest ant, so you can really see it coming. You should see it coming, worst case scenario. These guys get you in a colony though, game over. There's a good chance you won't even survive at all. One bite is bad enough, let alone a colony. Its venom's so powerful, it's being studied right now for its use as a pesticide. Yeah, we're sacrificing ants to further our research on how to sacrifice ants. This is dark. That sounds pretty dark when you say it like that. There's actually an indigenous Amazonian tribe in Brazil, and they use bullet ant stings as part of a ceremonial process to become a warrior. I would not pass. I wouldn't even make it to the island. I'm not good with bugs. They have to keep a straight face the entire time whilst getting bit. That's so impressive. Number 7, dart frog. You may be thinking, thank God, a frog, something cute, something unlike the bullet ant. Guess again. Not this time. Small but mighty, the poison dart frog is one of the deadliest animals on Earth. I left the word poison out of the title. I juked you out. I did it on purpose. Its shiny yellow skin will certainly attract the eye, but if you decide to try and, catch one of these slippery boys, its poison can kill 10 fully grown adults. All bad. Indigenous hunters figured this out and they coated the tips of their arrows or darts in this toxin. The toxin created naturally here is called batrachotoxin. Another creature we've mentioned on this channel before that also has the same toxin is the pitui bird. That's in Australia though, it's far away. Either way, a lot of poison moving around us in nature. It's actually pretty alarming. Birds and frogs, I'm just gonna stay home. I'm just gonna stay home and do this all day. Number 6, mosquitoes. These guys suck, no matter where you are, but when it comes to the Amazon, like everything else, it's much worse than you could ever imagine. Mosquitoes are one of the most dangerous because they can fly, and you don't see them coming. And once they get you, the damage has already been done. They're just full of blood. How gross is that? They're horrible. If you travel to parts of the Amazon rainforest and you don't have yellow fever vaccinations or extremely strong mosquito repellent, you're gonna have a bad time. These suckers are clouds of malaria just waiting for you to walk into by accident. And then you go, oh, and it's too late. Number 5, decoy spider. Oh, these are all horrible. These decoy building spiders are exceptionally small, but super smart. These spiders only measure to be about 5 millimeters in length, but you might see a much larger spider hanging out in a web that they've created. See, this might sound scary, but this large spider is actually a fake spider. It's a decoy. It's a decoy spider that the small spider built out of various materials like food scraps, debris, even their old skin to make a bigger, scarier spider. That's horrible. I wish I didn't know this. Look, art is subjective, okay, that's for sure. I don't think this is the most lovely piece of animal art on the planet, but it works. It gets the job done. A rather impressive defense mechanism for such a tiny little dude. These spiders were only discovered pretty recently, so again, not much is known about them, as there still needs to be tons of research done, just like the other horrible spider on this list. It is, however, believed that this is a feature that has evolved in this particular spider, so it's possible we've only recently discovered it because it's a new feature. Yeah, how neat is that? Hey, spiders are learning new tricks. Hit that thumbs up. I'm so scared. Cheers.
The biggest uncontacted tribe on Earth is deep in Peru's Amazon. They're called the Mashco-Piro, hunter-gatherers who vanished into the jungle hundreds of years ago to escape the violence during the rubber boom, and they just stayed out of sight ever since. Their language is a very old dialect of the Piro language, which is loosely related to what nearby Yine people speak. Yine can understand maybe 80%, so there's some overlap, but a lot of it is completely foreign to linguists because outsiders never properly studied it. No one really knows how many of them there are, but experts think it's somewhere around 750 people, and most have had zero contact with the outside world. They avoid outsiders like the plague, literally, since disease is a big threat to them. Recently, some Mashco-Piro have started showing up along rivers and near logging areas, probably because illegal deforestation is pushing into their territory, but still, no one's had enough time with them to actually study their language. So it's one of those rare cases where we know the language exists, but we have no idea what they're saying. The Corubo live way out in the Havari Valley in Brazil, right at the edge of the Amazon near the border with Peru. This place is so deep in the rainforest, it might as well be another planet. The tribe is famously private, they don't want contact, and they don't need it. Most of what we know about them comes from a single small group that had brief contact back in the 90s. They speak what's known as the Panoan language, part of a group of indigenous languages spoken in the Amazon, mostly across Peru, Brazil, and Bolivia, but nobody's recorded the full version, not even close. A dialect spoken by the uncontacted Corubo is completely undocumented. A few words were picked up from the small group that had contact, but those people had already been isolated for so long that even their dialect was different from neighboring groups. The Corubo have been called the clubbers because they carry these huge wooden clubs and aren't shy about using them to keep outsiders away. And you can't really blame them. When contact does happen, it usually leads to sickness or worse. The Awa are another isolated group in the Brazilian Amazon, and they're about as hard to find as it gets. Out of the roughly 350 Awa still around, at least 100 are what they call uncontacted, meaning they live completely off the grid. They're hunter-gatherers, super mobile, and known to pack up and move at the first sign of trouble. They use a language called Kwaja, which is technically part of a larger family of languages, so it's related to a bunch of other indigenous languages in Brazil, but the version the uncontacted Awa speak is totally different. Nobody's recorded it, no one's written it down, and the people who speak it, well, they're off the grid. So even the other Awa groups who've had some contact, the dialects just vary so much that it's tough to pin anything down. They don't just avoid outsiders, they avoid pretty much everyone, even other indigenous groups. So the chances of anyone sitting down and studying their language is very, very unlikely. In the middle of Ecuador's Yasuni National Park, one of the most biodiverse jungles on Earth, there are two groups, the Tigiri and the Taramanane, who've completely cut themselves off from the outside world. They're part of the larger Huaorani family, but they split off decades ago. They're known as voluntarily isolated, and the Ecuadorian government has laws in place to protect that. So about their language, since they're related to the Huaorani, it's assumed they speak something similar, but nobody's actually studied it, and no one's had any kind of extended contact to even confirm that. The only thing we really know is that it's different enough that even the Huaorani who do have occasional contact can't fully understand it. Most of what we know comes from neighboring indigenous people and rare reports from illegal loggers who had run-ins with them. The Chito Nohua live in the Peruvian rainforest in a remote area called the Marunahawa Reserve. Even locals don't go unless they have a really good reason. They've managed to stay mostly uncontacted, and they move around a lot, which makes them nearly impossible to track. When it comes to their language, it's part of the Panoan family, same as a few other tribes in the region, but the Chitonahua version is unknown to outsiders. There's no written record of it, and there are no recordings. The few times they've been seen or heard by other people, the language they speak has stood out as different, even from other Panoan speakers. The little we do know has come from brief encounters with nearby tribes. That's basically it. Because they've stayed so hidden and avoid contact at all costs, linguists just haven't had a chance to study their language. So we know it exists, we know it probably is related to other languages, but beyond that, we really got nothing. The Sisimoto is a monster you don't want to run into. It's said to be this massive, hairy humanoid that roams the jungles of Belize and Honduras, and it's not the kind of creature that just like hides in the shadows. Story goes that this thing is pretty aggressive. It doesn't just attack people, it actively hunts them. The Sisimoto is said to have an almost human-like face, but it's buried under thick matted fur. Its eyes are deep set and mean looking, and its body is almost pure muscle. Unlike Bigfoot, which people say is mostly shy, the Sisimoto has no problem going straight into villages to snatch up women. Yeah, that's its thing. It just kidnaps women and drags them into the mountains, and once they're gone, they are gone. One of the most disturbing stories tells of a woman who managed to actually escape. So I guess in this case, she wasn't gone. She ran for her life, she swam across a river knowing the Sisimoto wouldn't follow. Apparently these things cannot handle water. Enraged, the creature didn't just give up and leave, it drowned its own hybrid offspring in a fit of rage before disappearing back into the jungle. Some say if you hear heavy footsteps in the trees at night, that's your only warning, because once you see it, it's too late. Deep in the rainforests of Madagascar, people talk about the Kalanaro, small, fast, vicious humanoid creatures. They stand just under 3 feet tall and are covered in dark, wiry hair and have long claws and glowing eyes. Some say they look like primitive humans, maybe even a lost branch of evolution, little hobbit people. These things are also said to be active hunters. They sneak into villages at night, stealing money and food, and according to some legends, they snatch up youngsters too. People say if you hear eerie whistling in the jungle, it's them calling to each other, planning their next move. They're also said to leave behind twisted gifts like animal bones and strange carvings or tufts of their own hair, almost like a warning. And then there's the water story. Fishermen tell of seeing them near rivers, watching them from trees, but when people get too close, the Kalanaro don't run, they dive straight into the water and vanish, like they've got gills or some kind of unnatural way of staying submerged. If you ever find yourself deep in the Amazon and spot a familiar face, maybe a friend, a relative, or even yourself, you just turn around and run, because there's a good chance you just saw the Chulachaki, and that never ends well. Also, if you ever just see your own face somewhere that's other than a mirror, probably not a good thing no matter what the case, but the Chulachaki is a shape-shifting entity from Peruvian folklore, a jungle trickster that lures people off the path, never to be seen again. It can look like anyone, but if you're sharp, you might catch the one thing it can't hide: its feet. One is normal, human-like, but the other is a more twisted, deformed type thing, usually said to be cloven, like a goat's. If you notice the feet too late, you're in trouble. People who follow the Chulachaki into the jungle never come back. Some say it devours them, others claim it curses them, leaving them wandering the rainforest forever, lost in some kind of trance. The creepiest stories come from hunters and travelers who swear they saw themselves standing in the trees, watching. Not a reflection, not a shadow, an exact double. And if you try to fight it, that's a bad idea too. The Chulachaki is small, but unnaturally strong. And if it touches you, you're as good as gone. The only way to escape is to never follow it in the first place, because once you step off the path, you're already his. Or its. Deep in the jungles of Java, something massive flies through the night. It's not a bird, it's not a bat, it's something else. This thing is an absolute nightmare with wings, a gigantic bat-like creature with a 12-foot wingspan, glowing red eyes, and a face that some describe looking oddly human-like. Technically more gorilla or monkey-like, but close enough. The creature is named after the sound it makes, ahul, an eerie, echoing cry that cuts through the jungle at night. Locals say if you hear it close, it's already watching you. Some say the ahul is just a giant bat, maybe an undiscovered species, but bats just don't get that big. Largest bat wingspan on record is 5 feet, officially. And bats don't have monkey faces either, fortunately. And again, this thing stalks and hunts. There are stories of fishermen on the river vanishing without a trace, their boats found drifting with deep claw marks gouged into the wood. The unlucky ones who've seen it up close say its eyes glow in the dark, locking onto you before it vanishes back into the trees. Is it a lost species? Is it just a demon? Well, whatever it is, if you ever hear that ahul in the distance, just get inside and stay there.
Number 4, the electric eel. First of all, never rub an electric eel like they're a genie lamp. You're gonna want 3 more wishes if you do that, my friend. That was the moray eel. That one can bite your fingers off, which is horrible. But you should never touch an eel in the first place because a lot of them are electric. As its name hints towards, these type of eels can mess you up even if you weren't to get the first hit. Specifically, the newly discovered 2.5 meter Electrophorus volti. Yeah, the Electrophorus volti. No, that's not a new hybrid car coming out on the market. This is a dangerous beast. It was appropriately named after Alessandro Volta, aka the guy who invented the battery, and it can release a shock up to 860 volts, more than 7 times the voltage of your average wall plug. It was recently discovered only a year ago that electric eels in Amazon rivers like to travel in packs. They like to travel with their friends and they all head to the bar together. How fun is that? Packs of electric water snakes. Does it get worse than that? It can't get worse than that, can it? Number 3, black caiman. It can get worse than that. It can get a lot worse than that. If you're not a fan of alligators, you might want to skip to the next one. Black caiman is the largest family member in the Alligator Day crew. These super alligators live in calm, slow-moving rivers, places you wouldn't expect, a dinosaur to be and jump out at you, essentially. Just like dangerous river snakes, one I might talk about later, these black caiman will take it slow and just wait for their prey to have a sip of water. And then at that point, the largest predator in the Amazon will grab its lunch and quickly return to the water, just like that. Be very loud and very fast. This thing eats birds, it eats reptiles, mammals even. Yeah. This thing can and will eat everything. Between 2008 and 2013 alone, there were 43 black caiman attacks on people. Yeah, a handful of these attacks were fatal. I'll leave it at that. Number 2, pink dolphins. We'll do a nice one before we do the horrible big bad number 1. Deal? Deal. Pink dolphins of the Amazon River. They're the largest of all river dolphins, and adults, more often than not, males end up turning pink as they age, and we have no idea why. Scientists aren't exactly sure why these guys are pink or why the color comes later in life, seeing as, they're born gray. Our leading theory here is that the color is brought on by scar tissue that results from fighting with other dolphins or predators. I'm sure it's not an easy go, swimming through schools of electric eels and all that jazz, so yeah, fair, it could be a pretty rough environment. Some old legends hilariously mention that pink dolphins may be can turn into a handsome man in the evenings, and then during this time they would hypnotize and seduce young women before turning back into dolphins again near sunrise. Yeah, forget Morbius. I want to see that movie. That's a supervillain origin story I would pay to see. The pink dolphin handsome man. He has one day to find love, and then he turns back into a dolphin. Number 1, green anacondas. Of course, we have to talk about the anaconda, specifically the green anaconda. It's green like the Hulk, because it's always angry and scary and violent. This movie came out 25 years ago. I remember watching Anaconda with my family, and it made me extremely afraid of snakes, actually. This was probably the one that did it. So how accurate was that film? Although the green anaconda is a non-venomous snake, the boa constrictor is still one of the most dangerous ever. It's the most feared, definitely the most feared. Green anacondas live in calm marshes or slow streams, and again, they wait until their large prey gets thirsty, and once they come to the water, the anaconda suffocates and wraps around its lunch. Yeah. Anacondas hunt prey that's larger than us humans, so if they wanted to, they could for sure eat us. There's only no evidence of it happening because humans rarely interact with them in general, so anacondas probably don't know they could eat us. Green anacondas can reach lengths of up to 30 feet, so plenty of space for you and yours. Awesome. You and yours. He ends it on a crack, on a voice crack. That's great. That's how scared I am of this anaconda.